What's good? What's good? What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Cool, man. What's happening, man? This is going to be a lot of current events, and it's going to be a conversation to a degree, maybe a little less structured because of some things that I've been seeing, and I just got some things on my mind that I was looking at. But it's going to coincide because I'm going somewhere with this. As you can see by the title, can we handle the truth? So I'm going to use this sports reference to go into the other things in real life. So they brought up this Myles Garrett thing again on ESPN. What's happening, George? Rollo, what's happening, man? We're going to get it together, Rollo. We're going to get it together. But I'm going to use this sports reference with this Myles Garrett to take it into other things. Because, I was watching the interviews and everybody's talking. They're talking to Myles Garrett. Was he lying? This, that, and the third. And I'm looking at it like, this is why society has problems, because we can't handle the truth. And what I mean by this is when you spin a situation and you spin a narrative to make somebody look crazy, but you leave out half of the story, that's a problem. Now, why I'm bringing this into consideration is, so, last year, the Steelers and the Browns played. Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph with a helmet. So comes out, Myles Garrett says, he called me a nigga. But now, months later, we want to act like the story didn't happen in a different way. What's happening, Phil? And what I mean by that is, people, I didn't see him say anything. I didn't hear anything. The NFL didn't hear anything. Here's the problem with that. Problem number one. Everybody's talking about what they didn't hear or see when his helmet was off. Nobody was talking about what happened when he was on the ground and he tried to take Myles Garrett's helmet off. That's probably where he cussed him out and called him that. What's up, Cheryl? Oh, I'm going somewhere with this, so just bear with me. So that's problem number one. You want to skip the fact that if somebody gets frustrated and they start trying to rip a person's helmet off in football, they're probably cussing them out. Probably. They're not just silently just trying to pulling at their head in their helmet. That's not happening. Then people forgot that the coach, I got you, George. People forgot that the coach, Freddie Kitchens, told Myles Garrett not to speak to the public about what happened. But now they're going to act like months later, just could have came out a long time ago. See, another hustle. Now, on top of that, people forget that Mason Rudolph picked a fight, got a fight, lost the fight, played the victim card, said I was going to call the police and sue, and then all of a sudden got caught on tape starting a fight, and they said, ooh, oh, y'all saw that? Oh, my bad. I'm just not gonna file charges. We just gonna keep it light. So now you're gonna take the character of a man that will lie on national TV on camera until you gotta catch him. So he's telling the truth. That's where this video comes from. Can we handle the truth? Now, so everybody else is want to play dumb. So let's not play dumb anymore. Moving on. So Boosie goes on Instagram Live talking about D-Wade, you tripping. Now, I don't think D-Wade was talking about like a gender reassignment surgery for his son. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think Boosie went too far with that. But here was the thing. Boosie was right. That kid could turn 16 and like girls, but you got him posted up all on television. I feel like Suge Knight, all in the videos, all on the screen, all on the track, just everywhere, posted up like this is what it is. Maybe you just might be jumping the gun, but you don't care. Don't care whatsoever. Got other kids who are doing things, but we're going to just highlight the kid that want to be a girl. That's stupid. That's stupid. And we can't handle that truth, right? Now, I'm going somewhere with this. my aunt called me today, and she said, Gabrielle Union full of it, because Terry Crews was right. She never said who was creating racial animosity on that job when she was on that show. So she never said who or what it was. She never filed a complaint. So now all of a sudden they went on Terry Crews, and she's looking back at it like he was right. He can't interfere if she can't say who it is. Once again, but I was telling my aunt that's what it goes with spinning the argument. When all of a sudden, you create a situation, but if a brother responds to a situation, guess what? Now it's a new argument. You get what I'm saying? All right. Give me like 20 minutes. Oh, Rollo. Give me like 20 minutes. I'm gonna get this off and I'll open it up. I got time, fam. Now the reason I'm getting there, Mike, what's happening? Devin, how you doing? James, was good. Now the reason I'm talking about this spin part is because if y'all didn't notice, and I saw that this by happenstance, the same kind of community, Wendy Williams got on TV talking about, look, y'all ain't gonna never be women, okay? And now she got to reel that back, right? So now telling men who want to be women that they'll never be women is a problem. Keyshawn, what's good? Goshen, what's good, fam? So now you can't handle the truth. Now you can't say, don't put your kid out on Front Street. You can't say, if you're gonna say you fighting racism, you at least got to name a name. Now you can't say that that only women can be women and not men posing as women. So now we're living in a society where we can't even handle the God's honest truth. And I'm sitting there looking back at this stuff like, this is getting quite stupid. But everybody want to get over. And that's part of the issue. Everybody wants to get over. Now making a quick turn that you might not have seen coming. Can we handle the truth? Because as I'm reporting on all of this stuff that's happening in the current events, you know what's not being reported? Black history and Black History Month. See, this quote unquote our month. Are we acting like it? Are we promoting For Life, the show, the ABC show with 50 Cent? Because that's part of our history, the injustices of the legal system, which we like to bring up, quote unquote, white supremacy and the white man holding us back and the unfair systemic racism in the country. But guess what? In February, we ain't talking about it. Tanya, what's going on? We ain't talking about it now. But just as I spoke earlier, I can talk about the celebrities, I can talk about sports, I can talk about entertainment, but guess what? When it leads into actual Black history, And why am I talking about this? Because ironically, I ran across parts of the interview that will.i.am did on the Breakfast Club when he was talking about what? Automation. And who did he say were going to be the people most affected by automation in America? Who's going to get the worst hit? Blacks, us. So here, can we handle the truth? Can we handle, while we're not paying attention and bigging up our own history and recreating and making new history or bigging up the history that's being made, we're slowly worried about, immigration and HB1 visa and all that, and other groups passing us financially. You better remember, robots is next. So if everybody else owns property, this might turn into a real life Elysium movie, where guess what? The people who own stuff, they way, way away from us if you don't own nothing. And we Black, right? So how much do we own? Now, when other people say stuff like, you Blacks only own 1% of the country. Well, here's the problem. Whites own like 92% of the country? So stop acting like Hispanics, Asians, Muslims, Arabs, us and Native Americans, 6 groups are fighting for 8%. So stop acting like everybody else got just that much more. But we're not even going. But can you handle the truth? Dion, what's happening? Game of Thrones. I got you, Mike. Natalie, what's going on? So I'm sitting here looking at, I'm working. I had a long, long day or whatever. I'm listening to a lot of things. And I'm sitting here like, wait a minute. Let me get this right. We can't be honest about life. We can't be honest about situations that happen on camera. We can't be honest about everything that goes on in day-to-day life. We can't be honest about regular old biology. We can't be honest about the future ahead of us that's coming. We can't be honest about even big up in our own history. So what are we going to be honest about now? But everybody want to be real, right? Oh, snap. Ship will sell. What's happening? The trail, what's going on? Third war, what's popping, man? That brother, what's going on? So now we're in a situation where we can't be honest. Or we can be honest, but nobody wants to hear the truth. Or people can't handle the truth. Which is very interesting. Because guess what? We complain about what? Being lied to. But how you going to complain about being lied to and complain about somebody telling you the truth? So obviously, you don't know which direction you want to go in. This is why I'm making this live. Can we handle the truth? Because the truth is, we concerned about the wrong things. We concerned about the wrong things. Like, I was listening to Kevin Samuel earlier, going live, talking about stuff. Can we be concerned about handling our business and being better? I got you. Oh, I got you there, brother. And this is one of the issues. Aisha, how you doing? Well, you want to be, we trying to be traditional and build the Black family again. It's Black History Month. We can't even we can't even laugh together. I ain't played a spades game all February. I've hung out with my folks. I can't say that. But everything else came before us. And why I'm talking about the Black relationship is this. I'm going to say something that some people ain't going to like. That's why I brought up Kevin Samuels. He said something today that's very much so true. Everything Black women say about Black men ain't a lie. See, can we handle the truth that there are guys out here who are cheaters, just serial cheaters for no reason? They don't have it's not that they're getting neglected in relationship. It's just that they can't be loyal to nobody. And they have fun doing it. They have fun cheating on people and telling people that they love them. I just can't control myself. That's a lie. Can we be honest about that? Can we handle the truth? And the same people that's out here cheating like this is the same people who's sensitive if they woman with somebody else. Can we handle the truth? Can we? They are brothers out here living from house to house, roommating it up at 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. Because they wasn't doing their damn job. Can we handle the truth? Oh, it ain't me. Okay, it ain't you. Good, it ain't you. How many people you know like that, though? How many people do you know of like that? How many of the friends you got that are females who got a dude and you be looking at them like, what's wrong with you? And on the flip side of that, what's happening? So kind of what's going on? Can we handle the truth with Vern? What's popping? Can we handle the truth that you ladies are complaining about men? Oh, I take that back. You ladies are complaining about males that are not men, but guess what? You don't want to be with no grown man. You don't want to be with no black man. You don't want to be with no responsible man. You just want to complain about the sorry dude that you like having sex with for whatever reason you want to have. But can we handle the truth? Can you like sorry? Why? Because both of y'all sorry together. You just happen to have the name on the lease. Cassandra, how you doing? So can you handle the truth? That because what's going on is in the quote unquote sector of let's get it together. Oh, what's up, Nick? What's good? Earl, what's happening? Can we handle this reality that when it comes to, do you want to talk about the black love and black relationships and how black people need to get together? Well, let's be honest. Let's ask this question. Do all of us single men, do we want to be husbands? Do we want to be heads of household? Do we want to be the leaders of a family? Do we want to have that on our shoulders and on our back? And are you in a position to do it? Or do you have the ambition to carry it on? Because the truth is, a lot of people just want to be players. A lot of people just want to be players. Or the idea that I could be a player. You know what I'm saying? I got all these options. Just like I can turn this around on the other side. Do a lot of these women who, I want a good man, do she actually want to be a wife to a good man? Does she actually want to be, under the head of the household? Does she actually want to be with this man who's going to be making decisions for the family and leading the family? No, she don't. She want to argue. What's up? Cleon, what's happening? She don't want that. She don't want that. She don't want to be that man's wife. She want to be married, and I've said it a million times. She want to be married, but she don't want to be a wife, not his wife. No. Let's not play this game. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Eugene? So here's the thing about, we can't handle the truth. And the reason why I just brought this part up, very simple, because guess what we're doing? We're hiding behind the husband and wife, the traditional family thing, because it's other business we need to attend to. And we're going to act like if I don't handle the family business, we ain't got no reason to work. So can we handle the truth that some people actually hiding in a single set to being single in a single sector so they don't have to get off their behinds and do no heavy lifting and work in their own life? Can we handle the truth on that? MOT, what's happening? Vern, what's good? Lamont, what's popping? I need a lady like Candace Owens. You off the chain. But this is what's going on. Can we handle the truth that maybe, just maybe, and I say it this way. When it comes to the traditionalism in the black family and this, that, and the third, maybe, just maybe, our women are overeducated and we are overskilled. Maybe, just maybe, because the most educated group in America is supposed to be what? The black woman. The most skilled group in America is supposed to be what? The black man, as far as trades and skills like that. So maybe, just maybe, what's really going on, it's not a money issue. It's not even a class issue. It's a status issue. You want to be in corporate America, but you don't want to be with somebody who does manual labor. That's what this is about. Oh man, what's up, Diane? It's my bad. He hit me up. This is what this is about. A guy who's skilled is beneath me. A girl who's too educated is above me. No. Let's be honest about that. Let's see what's really going on. David, what's happening? Goonie, what's going on? Rollo, hold up, fam. I got you. Because I told you 20 and I meant that. Hold up. I hate when I do this. God dog it. I done messed up. There we go. Hold on. Just bear with me, folks. I'll put the link. Rollo, I'm putting the link in the chat now, fam. So let's be honest. Let's get real honest for a second. Because when it comes down to it, we're lying in a lot of different ways. So one of the other things that Jamal was having, there we go. So the reason I'm talking about this in an odd sense is because we as a group, we keep shooting each other in the foot and kicking each other in the ass. But truth be told, we don't want people in the positions that we say we want people in. You brothers ain't building. But here's the thing. Y'all don't want builders. And guess what? Some brothers don't want to build. Hold up. Kenny, you can hear me? Oh, okay. All right. Like, brothers don't want to build. Let's just be honest about that. Let's just be honest about, but there are people who don't want to do everything it takes. Man, don't even worry about it, Nick. Don't even worry about it. Just give me some likes. I'm good with that. Rollo, what's good with you, fam?
What's going on, L.A.R? How's everybody in the chat? Good to talk with you, man.
Go ahead, get it off. Get it off your chest, player.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of their own mirror and their own narrative. Let them know what you were saying because they see all the madness and they don't want to fix it. They actually enjoy seeing the madness instead of just separating from all the madness. They continue to indulge into the madness. All the truth is out. There's no more hiding anything. And so people are shocked about this and about that when this has been going on for a long time. It's just that people so afraid to take the leap of faith and to get into involved in things that matters. And what matter is survival now. Because like you said, you got automation, Elysium. Where I stay at in New York, a block is the hood. The next block is like another place. And so whatever happens in New York, it's going to transgrade in other parts of the United States. They're ready to make a separatist in terms of classism. It's not even about the culture. Either you have it or you don't have it in this decade coming up. It's going to be a lot of people starving, man, focusing their energy on things that you should be aware about and try to separate from it and focus on the things you're going to need to survive. You see what's going on in China? That's a prime example. It happen anytime soon here. The way things is going.
I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, it's sad to me to say this, but we're not taking it. We're not looking at the Black future. We're not looking at. It's Black History Month. We're not looking at Black history. We're not looking at the Black present, and we're not looking at the Black future. So, right. I'm sitting here like, okay, if I was to be honest and say, listen, all of this drama that people like, it ain't gonna get you nowhere. Yep. All of this dysfunction that a lot of us grew up in, that we tried. Here's what kills me. We say we Black, we come from the hood, we got to deal with racism, but at the same time, you don't want to get away from dysfunction.
Exactly.
So if I'm like, you can't be honest about this, you like dysfunction more than you like function. And when it comes to let's build, I ain't got a problem with that too. But what I do have a problem with is this. Stop acting like we're going to build Wakanda in 10 years. See, people want people to build without saying, our kids and grandkids going to have it better than we do if we start the building today. But see, people don't want to do that, though. People don't want to say, okay, I'm going to put my money to the side for the next generation. We don't want to do that.
Right. Now, when it comes to the spending, we have the money, like you and O'Shea and everybody been saying. We have the money. We spend the most money in the world. It's what we do with it is the telling sign. And so we try to entertain people who don't really care about us for the most part. We're trying to get favoritism with them instead of just doing what we need to do naturally and organically and be around the people we're supposed to be around, not the people that we're trying to get around. You get what I'm saying? And it's like now
Hold up.
you have these older guys
Uh,
and some of these middle-aged guys don't want to correct their situation for the youth that's coming up. They want to bring them down with them into the pit of fire.
what's up, Nameless? You got it.
Hey, what's going on, family? How you two doing today?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, you got an interesting top today, L.A.R. Just kind of just cruising through these YouTube streets, and I saw this, and you guys are talking about some pretty heavy things. It's pretty much the nature of the red pill, right? Facing that truth. I'm not saying you're red pill or channel or ascribe to ideology, but that's essentially what we're talking about here. I think you guys were really nailing it when you made mention about the culture, and you talk about how we have these values and ideas that are tied to the hood, yet when it's go time to try to make something happen, i.e. filter out the dysfunction, we run face first into it, right?
Yeah, that, like, for me, that's an issue because, like, when people want to talk about the hood and the hood culture, and Carlin was good, and it's funny how we romanticize the hood, but we want to circumvent the consequences. So I want to be hood, but I don't want you to do to me what could be done to me in the hood if I cross the line.
It's interesting. I have the impression that a lot of our culture is still transfixing its original source code that was on the plantation. And so the values we had on the plantation tend to be our default setting. And as you notice that every generation we had since we left the plantation, we've gotten by, but every generation resets because we never actually solved the problems that originated from the plantation. So we get by and we progress and a new problem rises. And then that old problems gets pushed aside. And it's a lot like the national debt, how you've heard that whole kick the can ideology.
Mm-hmm.
How they'll pass the bill, but the problems still remain. The debt's still there, but the show goes on. That's essentially what's going on with us. And we got a glimpse of that when Jim Crow ended and all of the businesses we owned it, we essentially handed them over to other groups of people, which was utterly counterintuitive to group economics. But the problem was we still identified with the white collective under the pretext of being an American. And so what we ended up doing is just handing those businesses off to everybody else but ourselves. And that, again, more layers. And here we are. We get that and run dead smack into what happened with Vietnam, then the benign neglect policy from the United States government. Then we've got the whole issue going on with the welfare programs and the obvious political lean towards the women in the community, i.e., you can have this check, but you can't have a man in the house. Then we get hit with crack. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot that led up to this point.
Yeah. Who was I listening to? Tony Maceo. He says, part of our genius is that we always had to kind of reinvent ourselves, improvise, and start over.
Right.
But it's a gift and a curse because we're like a cultural and financial nomad. We can't necessarily build anything because we always got to do something new because we're always resetting and adjusting and improvising because of the rule changes, right?
Right. So the term I use for that is our greatest strength and our greatest weakness is that we are so strong as individuals. We can get by without needing anybody's help.
Yeah, definitely. But I just wanted to say, on a national debt, from what I was told, the national debt is representing what they owe us. And they're trying to prolong it as much as possible. This is what I was told. I don't know how true it is. So allegedly, the national debt is how much they owe us for the time that we've been helping them and what they needed to do in this particular country.
Well, there's a lot that ties into that. I was only speaking to compare the model, the thought process of pass it off until later, so that
Right.
you've got this debt looming over your head, but you're still doing things and what you can in the immediate time to take immediate action to continue to make the government run. But yeah, there may be a thread to that. I also know a huge component of the IMF plays into that as well, with fractional reserve spending, where you only need 10% of the actual amount that the bank is supposed to have, and you can lend that amount about 10 times over again. And so that's how you ran into that whole situation back in the 30s. But there's a global iteration of that, and that's what the Federal Reserve is there for. So Congress sits down and decides a budget, and it sends that in the form of bonds to the Federal Reserve, and then the Federal Reserve at a fixed rate gives you back bills, which is why that has bills written on the dollar. You look at it on there.
So but it's not bad about gold and silver. If you look at the old bills, it's worth more than the bills you have today because they had silver and gold. And when they decided to execute that out, that's when the dollar started declining little by little for the most part.
Yeah, when they stopped the gold standard. Hold on.
Right.
I wanna get to this comment, Natalie, because this is part of about us in truth. We need to pay our taxes on our grandparents' land and don't sell your grandma's house. This is part of the truth that I'm talking about. And I'm not trying to, and I'm glad she put that. But what I'm going to do is make this statement about it. I 100% agree with that. But what I've noticed as I gotten older, there wasn't grandma's house, that was granddad's house. But he died first. But past that, I hate to say this because I didn't want to make it this type of issue. In the last 5 years, I've seen more Black women who were in their 40s and 50s not pay taxes and lose these houses than Black men. Because the majority of the Black men in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they didn't pass the house down to their sons. They passed it down to their daughters and let their sons just get with it, fend for themselves.
Correct.
L.A.R, are you from the DMV?
I live there too, but I ain't from there.
So that's Southeast DC case in point right there. Case in point. And I see a lot of that happen even in Northern Virginia. It's happening all over the place. People are not even familiar with the rights that they're entitled to if they are getting pressured to sell and all of that. But it seems like we don't even get to that point. I'm very fortunate that I still got some real estate in that region. But, again, if you didn't get educated on that or taught what you need to do with all of that, or, you're getting pressured economically because, again, you're by yourself. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, but that's part of the issue because when people don't, like, I don't, like, I've seen so many people who they inherit the land, the house, or the land. And on one end, I get it. These ladies don't necessarily know how to fix a house, or they got good contractors, because there's a lot of shady contractors who take their half and split on you and not do their job. So that kills a lot of money too.
Correct.
But what I've seen that bothers me about these situations is a lot of this gentrification is people who sell too early, and they could get a brand new house in a land swap, but they sell so early, they sell for $30,000, and then the land be worth $300,000, and then they sitting there looking like a dummy.
Right. Yep. That's what I meant about not understanding, their rights as squatters and all of that. So, that that happens entirely too much. And it's just a bleed over. It's just what we saw at the end of the Jim Crow era, just being fast forwarded even more so. And at this point, like you said, in the next 10 years, it's really starting to stratify up. You either have it or you don't. And there's going to be a big difference in people who actually own property and don't have to worry about rising rent, and those who can rent property out. You know what I'm saying?
That and that's for me. Like maybe about last month, I had a long talk with BGS, right?
Right.
And I was trying to be hopeful. but BGS, he's pragmatic. So I was trying to be hopeful, but I knew the answers that he was giving me. I was like, oh man, we screwed.
Hit you with that real, huh?
Oh yeah, he always. And one of the things I was telling them was I got on an apartment website in my area.
Right.
So you know how when you had a list that the apartments come up, right?
Right.
So I looked up when they first come up, they try to give you the best ones up top. So the first one had and I went to 3 bedrooms just to see how much. The first one says 1,800 to like 5,200 for a 3 bedroom. That's the price range.
5,000. That's so
that
disrespectful.
That was my point. I said, I don't think people understand, how much renting is about to put you in a position where you'll never own land.
Yep.
Like I know Rollo in New York. I know most people don't own land in New York City.
Correct.
And to me, they're trying to make that a metropolitan thing.
Well, you got to understand there's a little bit of an agenda going on with that as well, especially since we're talking about real estate. So, remember how we talked about the whole debt thing earlier? Well, the way this works is the Federal Reserve will act like a loan officer for a country, and they'll say, all right, we will negotiate your credit rate so that you can get a better percentage on whatever loan you're going to get from us. And what can happen sometimes is if 2 countries owe each other money, that debt doesn't actually disappear between countries, even though it can disappear between institutions. It's a weird little caveat there. So what people do sometimes, and what the United States has been doing for the last 50 years, really, is they'll allow certain groups of people that are here that are connected to the country that they owe money to kind of get a bit of a preference in owning certain property.
That's right.
So the rate you see may not be the rate that it actually is. If you catch what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but it's just like
they're not paying the face value. So like you were saying, L.A.R, they may pay less. I'm gonna tell you how I know, because I talked to a couple of Arabs that own a couple of places here, and how they particularly owe that country a certain amount of money. So what they do is they subsidize them and pay less, and you born here, you gonna pay more. They pay less, and matter of fact, they don't have to pay rent of whatever place they own for a year or 2 years. That's part of the agreement that's going on under the table.
Yep. And then here's how it gets even sicker.
And here
it gets nastier, because as they go there, it's still left under the same property value laws. So if you happen to live in that area, guess what's going on? Now you getting pushed out on some BS, on some international type stuff. And we're really going to start seeing that happen at a much faster rate now.
Yeah, you got it. That's why I advocate guys to travel to see what's going on, because being in this country, you learn a little bit of what's going on. But if you want to know how the world really, really works and how it's transpired, go to other places. It'll make you wake up so fast that your observation will be on a whole new level. It's more to it than a woman when we travel. It's more of what's going on that a lot of people in America is not predicate to. They're not realizing how far behind they are on a lot of things.
I was a couple weeks ago. I took my homegirl out. We went to the XFL game here, the first.
Okay.
One. So we driving there, and she's telling me we going through Third Ward or whatever, right? So she was telling me about she has an Asian girlfriend, and she has like this $500,000 house,
right?
But it's in an area that the houses ain't $500,000. So she was like, she said, they building more over there, and those old black people, they're gonna try to push out because they can't pay those taxes. And I was like, yeah, they can't pay those taxes, but they're not gonna pay actually the same rate. They're gonna pay the same rate as the other people, because those other people they're in that a cheaper neighborhood, so they're actually paying lower taxes than they would if it got higher. I said, but what's going to wind up happening is if they keep building there, that's what's going to raise up the property value, and then they're going to have to move.
Yep.
But the problem in that is they're all older people.
So they don't have no handoff at first off, and then
so that because when I go into certain neighborhoods, I like the hood. Like she was talking about, she wish she would have bought a house in that hood part of the town, because it's actually nice. Because people don't realize when it comes to the quote unquote black neighborhoods, and I've lived in places, the black neighborhoods normally have better construction and architecture than the other ones, but they just but people, we're not keeping the things up properly.
Right.
That's true.
So people don't realize you're sitting on a property that's probably worth way more than you know, because you don't cut the grass, the neighbors don't cut the grass, you don't paint the house, they don't paint the house, you don't power wash the bricks, they don't power wash the bricks. So it just looks like it ain't worth much.
It's a gold mine. They know it's a silver gold mine because the architect is a lot more stronger than the new complexes that they're putting up.
Yeah, Vern, I am.
A lot of problems within 5 years, 10 years.
You know, we were talking about the other day about what's his name? Anderson?
Edward?
Not Edward, no. The dude that wrote Powernomics.
Oh, Claude Anderson.
Okay. Claude Anderson. I always forget his first
Claude
name.
Anderson, yes.
Claude Anderson. So earlier you mentioned, we have the economics, and I'm inclined to agree with that. And it's interesting because the question immediately becomes, where's the choke point? And it seems like we just don't have a political agenda, because if we don't learn how to take our economics and find politicians to make them listen to an agenda we have, we're going to fall prey to the legal system. We're going to fall prey to propaganda made against us. And we're not going to be in a position to educate the next generation so that they know what they need to do. And we can tailor them for what we need and have some long-term projection going on. Like even things like think tanks. And the question I keep having is, okay, well, what is the issue with us politically? And,
since this is about honesty, we have the same issue that I say we have when it comes to working with black people globally. Trust. Because we got money don't mean we have trust, because there's so many people that we have in our community who cannot be trusted with the responsibility of money or power.
So here we go again with this whole dynamics where we can trust everybody else except ourselves.
I don't think the crazy part about it is I don't think we trust everybody else.
Well, I don't know. I think our voting patterns would say otherwise.
No, I think we accept what everybody else is going to do. That's just my opinion, though.
That's cool. I can see that. I can see that angle as well. Could be some column A, column B, but it just seems like we literally go along with what we perceive our class is.
Yeah, basically.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So like as your income goes up, you follow the litmus test of you're probably going to go red or blue based on that.
It's just basically when you get into a certain position of seeing things differently, you can't bring those people up with you if they're not on the same plateau. Right. Because what's going to end up happening is they're going to mess up the opportunity not only for you, for those who come behind you. So you have to separate from anybody that is not with the end game of reality. They too much involved with foolishness. See, you can't mix business with pleasure, and you can't mix business with foolishness. Because at the end of the day, you got to feed yourself. You got to feed those around you, especially if you got a lot of people looking up to you. In this day of time, in this quote unquote so-called black community, you have a lot of people look up to us for certain reasons. So if you're in that certain level, they expect you to look out for them, this and that, and the dirt. But the thing about it is they got to put in the work.
See,
It's not wrong helping your people out, but they got to put in the work, and a lot of them don't want to put in the work. They don't see the things you see. They don't see the grind. They just seen, oh well, he got this and that, not knowing how hard he got to that point. Especially for the so-called black men, it's a lot of things that we deal with on a daily basis.
Mm.
And so, if you don't have the proper support, and other people are willing to come in to help, you can't get mad at those people. Look at the movie The Blind Eye, the movie, the guy that played in the NFL for the Tennessee Titans that used to play for the Baltimore Ravens when it Super
Michael
Bowl.
Orr.
Yeah, like a lot of people was using him for his height and he didn't have a mind of his own until he got with people that was not of him that showed him that he could do it.
But
Look what happened. He became great.
It's interesting because even W.E.B. Du Bois, when he did his paper, The Philadelphia Negro, I think that was in 1899, he said the exact same thing. And then that information was corroborated and co-signed on again in, what was it, 1967 with the Moynihan Report. And it points out the exact same problem over and over again. There's too sharp a divide between classes of the black community to where all of our potential will get stifled because of the culture that we left from in the hood. And then the hood won't aggregate and organize because it's operating off of just dysfunction we learned on the plantation.
Well, a lot of you can root it off, but a lot of coaches learn off our dysfunction and they make a lot of money off of it. As much as they say they can't stand us, but if you get around them like I do, because I run certain businesses and I deal with people, you know, certain top areas, and I see them more into the hood culture than we are into the hood culture. You may not know that until you get around them. They be doing things you be like, wait a minute, hold on.
Right, case in point, the Jews, right?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna get to
them. They heavily into it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
We as a people don't see something that sits right in front of our face.
Yep.
Take for instance, I don't even hardly listen to the radio anymore. The radio stations, right? They play all of, you know, the quote unquote black stations. We like to call them urban stations. They play all of the quote unquote hits, right? And the DJs, beards, tattoos, looking like dope boys or whatever, or looking like they did a bid, or they looking like NBA players, however you want to look at it. The women looking like, you know, retired strippers and this, that, and the third.
Retired strippers, But
then you got a group of people normally on a radio station from, it's a multicultural radio station that's playing quote unquote black music. Now, the reason I bring that up,
culture more than we do, L.A.R.
Yeah, but the reason I bring it up is because if you pay attention to those people, you forget that they were in board meetings. They're on the cameras dressed up in all these hood clothes and trying to be hood and this, that, and the third, but they're in a board meeting getting together what they're going to sell to you today.
Correct. Yeah.
In other words, they have agency over the culture. So
correct.
And the only places you see that shifts a bit is when you leave the United States, ironically. Like there's a special kind of circumstance American-born black folks whose ancestors were part of the slave trade have here that you really don't see a lot everywhere else, not in the same degree, because everybody else can come over here and they have the advantage of having a name, a landmass that they can relate to, and a shared history that they have agency over. And the problem is
what they believe in. Yeah, they fall for what they believe in for the most part.
And that's the difference. Like you go even look at the Caribbean, and even though they were subject to the slave trade, it was done a bit different. And at the end of the day, they did have a revolution on their own volition. And that's not to say black folks here didn't resist, right? But we never got that opportunity to renegotiate. We never formed that nucleus of resistance that was organic to us. You know, we've been in a constant state of playing catch up.
We did at one point, but we decided to go with the getting along, you know, slogan. I ain't gonna mention the name. We know who they are. You know, he had a birthday last month.
It ain't even just that.
That's the default.
No,
right
it's deeper than that.
It's not just that. Of course. A lot of the policies that every other group that is a quote unquote a minority that's not black men, the vast majority of their policies were things that were instituted for black men what black men fighting for. There's a lot of people in America who've latched on to say, like, affirmative action the name is affirmative action now, but it started somewhere.
Right.
Right.
The things
Claude Anderson had a hand in that legislation, by the way.
Yeah, but you remember he had it specifically for what?
Us, period.
So that's the thing. Like, and prior to that, even with the military and that the way they have things going, or had it going rather, a lot of this stuff in America, and just by my memory and historical reference and an observation of us now, what's going on is a lot of us are so comfortable that we don't care about history because we eating.
Well, that's what I meant earlier about, we're so strong by ourselves that, we can get by without needing anything.
No. I don't mean we strong. I get what you're saying. I'm saying we comfortable. Like,
I see what you're saying. I agree with that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, other people aren't necessarily comfortable because I'm the one thing I can say about quote unquote foreigners or immigrants, right? Even if few I've met actually have plans to go back home, but a lot of them have. It comes off that the home that they came from is why they're fighting so hard to make it here. And some of us came from the hood. We don't necessarily. We just want to make it out the hood. We don't want to make it farther than that.
But here's what I'll say, and I'll give slight pushback. Well, not pushback. Let me add a nuance because
you could give pushback. I ain't
no. I just don't think it's necessarily pushback because I'm seeing too much overlap that I agree with what you said. I just want to add in also that there are. How do I want to put this? We'll push something uphill, and so our results may be a lot different, but the energy expenditure will be a lot greater. And there's a lot of that, which is why I called us strong. The problem is we don't see the results of a lot of that energy expenditure, much like on the plantation, because we were never placing ourselves in an environment to take advantage of that energy like other cultures do. And I see where you get the idea of, okay, well, they're in hustle and grind mode. Well, nobody worked harder than a slave, right? And I know a lot of us in our families, we can think back to ourselves and other members of our family that busted their behinds. But here's what we didn't have. Government assistance in the form of grants that didn't need to be paid back and were only stipulated on you being here. Policies that allowed you to take advantage of other aggregate groups of people that were there for the same purpose as you and slotting you into certain positions on purpose. Favoritism in the legal sense, because you're not going to be seen as something to be controlled or levied over by law enforcement and jury duty and all of that. And then a political slot to fit in that already has laws that are preserving your well-being so that you can bring other individuals to help you get employed without needing help from the federal government. Like, this is what all these other groups of people have except for us. So you can have somebody come over here from India, doesn't speak a word of English, but because they've got connections from somebody that's over here, they're getting a loan from the government a grant from the government that they don't have to pay back, a guaranteed job by the people they know, and they can go to 7-Eleven and get on a certificate program so where they can own their own store within 3 years.
Well, you know what? Let me put a little pushback just for this point.
Okay. Yeah.
We've had a lot of black successful people. We continue to have a lot of black successful people. And here's where the issue lies. It's not the black successful people that are the issue. It's the people that the black successful people employ who got all these dreams and aspirations and all these business plans that's been failing ad nauseum for the last 50 years, who are the problem. Because when we think about it, like, I hate to say this, when you think about LeBron James, you also think about his crew, Maverick and them, right?
Right.
Think of it's 2000. So they've been running about what a good 17 years strong now.
That's about right.
That's the first group. Beside the only other person I could think like that is Keenan Ivory Wayans. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
When you got all these people who are not just who are entourage members, who are family members, who have been wives and the wife's family and the elders and the smart people, even in the family. And guess what? And these people have paid for people to go to college, paid for people's homes. And out of that group who are benefiting off the upper class blacks, you're not seeing much come up.
You mean from individuals that are up top there bringing other folks up to their levels?
Yeah.
What you're saying?
Exactly.
Well, a lot of that is stemming from a simple fact that most of the people that are successful in our community are successful not because of the community, but in spite of the community. And as a result, it's almost like you have to go down a modality of shaming in order to really get something done. And that has diminishing returns. And it happens every single generation. So as long as you have people that are there in spite of you, everything becomes a charity case, and you're only going to go so far with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to see the Spanish community where we were at in Northern Virginia just explode in spite of ICE being there, because they were willing to aggregate under the simple fact that they spoke Spanish. All of them came from different countries, but they all spoke Spanish. And they knew that these businesses were not going to prefer having to speak Spanish to these folks. So instead of going to Bill's car place, they went to Emmanuel's car place. Instead of going to, Bill the plumber, they're going to Enrique the plumber. And when they go to church, they got business opportunities and connections and lawyers and all of that, helping folks, get these jobs, so that by the time they graduate from school, they're going back to the community, because the whole reason why they went to school was because of the help of their community.
Well, this is why, and I'm going to say it now, this is why I say that the black underworld, the dope boys, are the dumbest business people of all time. I hate when people talk about, they're entrepreneurs and they get, no, they're not. Because if you really want to be honest, and Rollo, tell me if I'm lying, you know what? The Hispanics and the Asians sell way more dope than we do.
Man.
They're involved in it heavily. They involved in it.
Fam, remember when MS-13 showed up?
But here's the kicker though. They have a lot of businesses that pop up while they're dealing drugs. We don't.
They have it in close facility here. I know they have a couple of places, probably in New York, that I may be aware of, that they own like businesses and they do their dirt behind the scenes. We do the dirt and don't have anything to, on the side to make sure everybody's all right.
But you know what? And that's the frustrating thing about everything that was just said right now. Like, it's true now, but it wasn't always that way.
No.
When we had, I hate to say it, but our height was probably the 1915s to the 1930s, during that Harlem Renaissance era. That was, we were able to convert that underworld bread into legitimate businelse. Only real thing.
Yeah.
To be told, bro, it stopped in the 80s. Because nobody ever, even though civil rights, the part of it where the Housing Act actually kicked in the 80s. So that's when we actually got the totality of civil rights.
Right.
But what I mean by it was in the 80s was because if you look at the HBCUs, that died down in the 90s.
Yep.
And prior to that, a lot of our success came through HBCUs. And I'm not just talking about athletically. I'm talking about lawyers. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about architects. I'm talking about the whole shebang, agriculture, all of that funneled through that system.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of unfortunate. That 70s period was a time period where the university in and of itself was starting to crumble anyway. So the writing was already on the wall that, university was going to start failing, like even just the general white community in the US in general. But then the HBCUs really did kind of serve as that. Howard University is an excellent example I can think of right now. And I don't know, man.
I'm gonna tell you what killed it, and it's gonna sound weird, but people don't want to say this publicly. We made institutions rich through sports. Sports was the slavery. Sports is why these schools are so big. Sports is why Miami is what it is today. Miami was an Ivy League school before. Sports is why Ohio State is a big school. Sports is why USC is a huge school. When these institutions that are quote unquote higher learning, your highest learning institutions in America are tied to athletics.
Correct.
And the HBCU used to have all of the talent.
So do you think they just got scouted out to other universities because of scholarships and whatnot? Okay,
yes,
I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
Because if you think about it, I mean, if you think about it as far as, and I'm using this as an education term, if you think about it, why are smaller schools have a quote unquote smaller population, but the reason why they don't grow is because they don't have revenue. What the other schools have revenue because they have big sports programs.
Correct.
See, I know that played out on the sub-college level big time, but I didn't really consider how, I guess, the scholarship dynamic could derail talent. But I don't know, like maybe there's a little bit of both of that going on, because like you can see, for example, Georgetown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, law school, but then here you are with Howard University. It's supposed to be kind of like a I'm just using DC as an example because that's the closest comparison I have. You still had a lot of people coming up out of there, but it just didn't seem like there was a huge conversion rate for producing individuals that really made big differences for the Black community like that. Outside of, okay, you got another engineer that's going to go work for somebody that's not from where they were born. So it's like, you know, Carter G. Woodson was speaking on that a lot.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think about it like this. We talk about branding, right?
Right.
The biggest colleges that pay the most money, it's a brand.
Yeah.
If you went to this school, you know, you X out the Ivy League schools. Matter of fact, include the Ivy League schools. Why do the Ivy League schools have such a brand? Because of the businessmen that went to those schools prior.
Right. They're alumni.
Right. So
absolutely.
You know, so when you think of Georgetown, they have a bigger brand because there was a time where Patrick Ewing,
right,
John Thompson, Alonzo Mourning, of course, Allen Iverson. Like that's what I want to go to Georgetown. So then when you have a degree from Georgetown, you don't necessarily think of a businessman. You think of the Hoyas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because when we take the, you know, and this is part of why, to a degree, even though we get on the sisters about their education and how much it costs, this is part of the reason why it costs so much. We drove up the price because we drove up the ticket price.
Correct. They have to come up with a format to get you and others who went into these institutions. They had to pay back the depas. So in order for them to pay back the depas, it was the regular classmates who was paying for these people to have a tuition to go to football, basketball. You guys pay for it. They didn't pay for it. Their parents didn't pay for it, truth be told. So if we're going with the truth of the matter is most of them got a scholarship based on y'all paying for all these debts. And see, even when you go to these games, because I used to cover the game, a lot of people is paying tickets, paying back to the owner, wherever he pay out to the players. So they're not missing anything. They're not missing the beat. So if nobody goes to the games and nobody watch the games, they don't make no money. The players don't make no money. So we institution, we keeping this place going. Let's just keep it real. We keeping this place going. But if we decide to don't want to deal with the foolishness and we pull away from the politicians and the government and the mayors and etc., or they'll get right. The only reason why they're not getting right is because we are continuing to feed them.
Like, I'm glad you said
that's going on.
Cassandra was like, you know, Cassandra says, you know, education is valuable. And I definitely agree with that. What I crack up about education as I get older is we have no idea how much they made on merch in the last 40 years.
Yep.
Because we don't think about, you know, how education is valuable, but like let me ask this question. Seriously. If I got a degree from Clemson right now, and somebody got a degree from University of Mississippi, which one would be more recognizable? From Ole Miss. Would Clemson be more recognizable or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
Why you say that?
Because of his history. Clemson is like, to me, Clemson is not much talked about than Ole Miss.
Now, the reason I disagree with you right now, because most people who look at Clemson right now, they think of football.
Right.
You know, like I think when you're talking about history and education, you know, certain schools, like if you go to Stephen F. Austin, they have a certain program that's, you know, Harvard has a certain program, Howard has a certain program, FAMU has a certain program, FSU has a certain program, Wake Forest has a certain program. But the problem is most people in those hiring positions forget about that too. Unless it's in a specific field. All they thinking about is which school is more recognizable.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Yep.
Because now if I say Ole Miss and MIT, off the top somebody's gonna say MIT because MIT is more recognizable brand as far as intellectuals.
Exactly.
It's like Cal Berkeley. If somebody's a pianist, where did you go? Cal Berkeley. Oh, I know you good. Because you went to Cal Berkeley. But if you just look at it on face value on paper, we stuck right now. That's why you can get an online college right now, and that's what's killing. My bad, y'all.
Well, no, when I look at, see, this is where we get into some of that frustration that you were describing earlier when you spoke with BGS, because at the end of the day, this all boils down to we're too far behind for education to catch us up until we get our economics down on basic things that we can do as an aggregate, because it doesn't do any good for us to have a continual brain drain and just throw people in society and be size just because they look like us. There's no line of effect that can help us improve our scenario if we want this idea of having a Black community. Because at the end of the day, if we don't aggregate on our own, conditions in the environment will aggregate it for us, and we won't have any agency over what goes down. And if we're serious about that, we need to get into this politics ASAP, which means we have to have an agenda, which means we got to get over this trust issue, because otherwise we're going to keep running into the same legal problems. We're not going to be able to control no narrative, and we won't have the ability to actually have our education really help our community like that.
Can I say the truth on that? On my opinion, I'm gonna speak. This is my truth.
Bring the fire.
We need a brain drain because all these people who want to be real niggas need to see how it really is to be a real nigga with no brains around.
Isn't that kind of the spirit of SYSBM for a lot of people?
I mean, you could say that. I mean, but that's part of the issue. Like, you know, I think people are not understanding that you can't guilt anybody to being stand up for the community when the community doesn't want that right now.
Yeah, and I think it's just, again, getting by. We're able to get by, right, without needing to do these things. And what I'm worried about is by the time people realize we need to do these things, we'll be so far behind that it won't even matter.
I got you, General. I just wanted to let them know that.
Yeah. Did he dropped off L.A.R.?
No. I put the link in the chat for the General.
No, the brother was saying something. He got cut off.
Oh, no. I just wanted to make sure he said what he said.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's my concern, that, you know, we get so far down the line to the point where, you know, as the music stops and all the chairs are taken, we're going to be left without sitting, even though we were faster than everybody and we could have had a chair. We just didn't get one.
You got to think about it. The chair represents the chairs, like the guy, the general that's on the platform said. Now, with the chairs, each chair, they make a certain incentive. See, it's like a quotation quarter. They need to make off each person that join their particular college. So they have to meet their criteria. So if they don't meet their criteria, they don't get certain perks. So if you actually talk with a professor, in order for them, they have to have a certain amount of people in that class for a certain amount of time. And if you don't meet the class requirements, they don't get paid. So it's like they your handler. College is like you their handler. They have a handler for you. Each and every person that joins a certain, fraternity or join certain classes, there's always a handler involved in your criteria. So like these athletes, these student athletes, in order for them to, play in the gym and get time off, they have to have somebody, they have to take care of on the side. It's too much backhandling going on in these colleges now. That's why they did that big investigation scandal that came out with the parents paying off these people, man. This stuff is real, man. Because some of these people are not smart like you think they are.
Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. I just want to make sure.
What's going on, G?
What's up, people? Hey, go ahead,
up, y'all?
I'm listening. Hey, go ahead, man. I was listening to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's about it. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, so what's up, brother L.A.R? Appreciate you for having me once again, and I'll surely return the favor as soon as the spring hit and I open up my my little channel. These are the types of conversations that need to be had within this sector of Black YouTube. Very enlightening to hear brothers discuss some of the real issues that are plaguing our community. Just wanted to chime in on a couple of things real quick. You were right. You guys are right on spot with the exception of, has anyone went and done the research on the immigrants that come to this country to see what it is, what advantages that they actually do get once they come to this country? Or are we just shooting in the dark here? I just want to hear from either of you gentlemen who have actually looked at those who come from India or those who come from China or wherever they come from to see exactly what the government has to offer them once they get here.
Yeah. I could talk about that a little bit. See, okay. I got a valet business and I deal with people from other countries, right? And so I sit and talk with them at certain times to make sure everything is good. And I asked them, how did you come here and how you operate a business? They said they got a loan. They didn't have to pay for it. It was part of when America started going into their country, tearing things apart. And they agreed to bring a certain amount over here. And what's the kicker is they didn't have to pay rent for 4 to 5 years before they started actually paying rent. See, how they come here is they live off of your Social Security or your accountant. So whatever you make, you actually helping them coming over here to do what they need to do. So there's a hidden tax code. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So there's a hidden tax code. They have a different bracket of taxes than we do. So whatever they made for the year, they get a sentence on the side because they was taught the tax code. And see, our people are so far behind the tax code. So let's say you make about $50,000 a year. You might get back like 800, 900. But like maybe in Houston with L.A.R, you get probably 1,000, 2,000 because they don't pay city or state. But do you know that they're supposed to pay you more? But what that rest of that money goes to is these people that's coming here to give them businesses. So they get a business tax break. You ain't going to get that because we agree on a treaty. I believe it ends in 2025, 2030, that we are going to be part of corporate. The biggest mistake that the king and these other movements, what we shall call them situation is, we agreed to be part of the ladder, not part of the separated from the ladder. So our people put themselves in a bad position, whereas people from other countries didn't agree to that contract after what these people did to them.
Okay.
So something else that people have to remember is there are different kinds of immigrants. So when a lot of us think of this, we're taking into consideration people that are like running in here, escaping some sort of political turmoil from the Mexico or somewhere in South America. You know what I'm saying? There's a different kind of community that's going on over there, a different type of dynamic. And what they will do is they will aggregate at their churches and stuff like that. And they have resources that are pulled together out of necessity. So that's where you get the cooperative group economics. Then you've got the other tier of immigrants, where a lot of the Nigerians, a lot of the folks from India, especially China, and I'll leave out the Europeans in this. They're able to get certain advantages because usually they're among a very top percentage of the people from their country originally. Let me link something to you. I'm gonna put this in the back chat so you can see it.
Eastern Europe, by the way, Eastern Europe did not want to do that. Eastern Europe did not want to get down with the program. That's why it's like rugged. Like even Southeast Asia, they didn't want to get down with the Chinese program. That's why it's kind of rugged. So what you're saying is true, but like most countries did not want to get involved with that. They have it a little bit harder too.
Yo, General, you got it, fam. You got it. I know
Okay, so here is some of what I do know. All right, most of the people that you're talking about that come over here and get the tax breaks and things of that nature, they fit into categories, right? They're tiers. Some of the people that you're talking about as far as the one who come from war-torn countries, right? Then they get asylum, so they'll get breaks. But as far as having things set into play, tax breaks at least, you know what I mean, for a certain X amount of time. As far as their magical job placement for these people, no, those are the students and those are the people that come over here on the B1 work visas that already have degrees of their specialties, right? They got B1, B2 work visas for those people. But just your average citizen, someone who wants to migrate into the country, there are not a lot of breaks for those people. Okay, that's why when you go to places like New York, for example, you will see a lot of immigrant taxi drivers and things of that nature. You know why? Because they're generally first generation workers, and they're coming here to establish a future so that their children can have a better future, right? So there's not a lot of
but New York is considered international. Why you think, not to cut you off, brother, like New York has the best international connection. Like because like I talked to one of my brothers, he was staying in Vegas, he's staying in Cambodia now. But he was telling me how the hell that it took them longer to get a passport. It takes people from outside of New York a longer time to get their passport than it is New York. New York has a connection to the international. New York, I don't even consider New York part of the United States, to be honest with you. It's more international. It's not too many Americans live in New York.
Well, anywhere that you have a major international airport is considered to be an international city. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we also must understand that we're angling this, from my opinion, this conversation, parts of it, from the wrong direction. This is why I would say that. How in the hell are you here as an American-born citizen, been in this country your whole life, and you can't take advantages of the school systems that you have for free? Case in point. When I was stationed in Africa, for example, we used to do a lot of work with the schools, right? With the local schools within the community. Do you know that those kids didn't even have pencil, paper, maybe 5 to 10 books in that school for a classroom of 40?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? But let me give me just a second. So when I hear Americans, Black Americans, talk about, oh well, they come over here and they get all of this different stuff and all of that. You've had a head start. So I when I was a recruiter for the United States Army, I used to put people in the Army, and I would get these international people that would come over from other countries, right? And to put them in the Army. Most of the times they would come, they would already have degrees. But their degrees, it would take time for them to get their degrees transferred over, so they would have to start out on the enlisted side. And then once they attain their degrees would get transferred over to the American standard, they would have the opportunity to become officers or warrant officers within the Army, which brings higher pay, more money, more opportunities, right?
Right.
That's just a small part of the problem in our community. We must stop looking at everybody else's yard and start minding and tending to our own.
So can I just make this statement, because it looks like maybe there's a point being made that wasn't actually intended with regards to what we were talking about. No, you're correct when you mentioned about a lot of first generation immigrants coming over here. When I'm talking about other people coming from other countries that are here now, I'm looking at more the community that they formed and not so much that first generation. because the goal is the children. I think that should be something that's understood. It's the children that will benefit from these programs, being American and all of that. But it's the community that they formed around that gives them the software to access that cohesively as a group. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? And that's
I didn't disagree with that point,
let me-
brother. I understand.
I just want to make sure that
add,
was clear. Go ahead, L.A.R.
Let me add and add this and answer this question of can we handle the truth? Maybe, just maybe, hypothetically speaking, though I'm gonna say it for real, so y'all can kiss my ass. Maybe, just maybe, other groups will get ahead of us because other groups ain't arguing with baby mama and baby daddy drama, so the kids can focus actually on their education. Maybe, just maybe.
Correct, L.A.R.
We go back to the family dynamic.
That's one of the things. Like, even thinking about quote unquote immigrants, yeah, they have a country, they got a home language, they might have resources in that country. I can agree with all that, but they don't come over here arguing with each other about who's going to do what with the kid.
Those are facts, L.A.R. See, here's something that, and you're in Texas, as am I. So I know you've probably seen and witnessed this, right? The Latin community, the Mexican community, for example, right? When they come over here, what they do is, and I've watched them do it in various communities. I've just watched, right? They're building houses here in Texas, at least around the Austin area, like crazy. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the people that are out there building these houses, guess what race they are? You might see one brother out there. The rest of them are all Mexican. You won't hardly see any white boys for that matter. Most of them are Mexican. And this is what they'll do. They'll come in and they'll buy one house in the community. And there'll be a whole goddamn 3 or 4 different families living in this house. And then what they'll do is they'll all work together collectively, and then they'll buy another house on that same block, right? And then maybe one of the families or 2 of the families are moving to their house, and they'll keep going, and they'll keep buying houses till the 5 families that was in the one house each have an individual house of their own. See, that's what we as Black people used to do, and I'll tell you how I know. Let's look at Black Flight, for example. That's what happened, in the 40s and 50s when a lot of African Americans were leaving the South, going up north and going out west. That's how that happened. That's how we have Black communities sprouted out all over and across the United States of America.
Right.
Hold on.
We stopped doing that.
I got to issue an apology real quick. Damn it, Full Circle, I was supposed to call your ass. So I'm calling you to first thing in the morning.
Full Circle, what's going on, man? Yeah, I was talking to him earlier today, L.A.R. I talked to him earlier on the phone.
So what happened was we stopped doing that. We went to an individualistic mindset. This is why we haven't advanced the way that we used to. See, used to, when you had a cousin or a brother that would leave the house and he would go from the South out to Los Angeles or Chicago or St. Louis or somewhere, he would send back and get a cousin. And that cousin would send back and get a cousin, much like these other groups of people are doing now.
Right.
So when they come to America, these people that come over here from various countries, that's what they do. They come over here, they get a foothold, they work hard, they send back, they get another family member or another family. We stopped doing that. What they did was they took the same program that we used to use back during that particular point in time, and they implemented it, whereas we went away from the implementation of that of that kind of dynamic. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's another nuance that you got to add to that as well that was going on simultaneously, and that through the whole monkey wrench and all of this that leads into what we said earlier. The fact that during that time period, the major reason they were able to leave in the first place is because those major industrial corporations were offering jobs in mass to the Black community like that, so that you could have a family move. You could have a family move from the South to the North, have a job that would give them the equivalent to a middle-class lifestyle, and it would come with health benefits and everything. And they were able to take care of their family, and they could afford for more people to come up and put other family members onto that. The problem was right in the mid-60s, all of a sudden, they went ahead and pulled the plug on that and decided to outsource all those jobs overseas to Asia. And then overnight, those centers that we lived at almost turned into hoods overnight. And then in the midst of all of that, all those problems we described earlier went down. So like I know a lot about that because my family did something similar as well. They used to live in Florida and owned a bunch of things, and so they moved to DC at that time when the projects were brand new, and they tried to settle down roots over there. But no, I definitely agree with you, General. It's multiple. I think it's more like a Venn diagram of issues that are kind of going on here. Where you're right, we're not doing that.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No,
Your show.
General was talking about. No, it's all. I try. Look. I don't try to be one of those folks. I'm not the iron. I am not the Iron Fist guy.
Just a little humor.
I know. General was talking about the construction thing, and this is one thing that people don't probably take into consideration when it comes to stuff like that. A lot of the white people that employ the Mexican and Hispanics, they don't like them. And the funny part about that is they can't even hire their own to do construction, because just like we talk about us, they have a lot of black skilled workers who are actually priced out by Hispanics because the companies would go for the lower price, which you understand business. But the problem is now that, guess what? They can't even hire their own now. So now when it comes to things working in infrastructures and skills, you have brothers who are skilled trade workers who are black, who kind of just sitting on the outs like, you're going to have to come back because you can't keep paying these guys these wages under the table. That's why they kind of like if in certain parts and pockets of America, they can't keep doing that. Like, I don't know if y'all know this, but in New Orleans, a hotel fell.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I heard about that. Yep.
And the reason the hotel fell was because it wasn't the Mexicans that was working. It was the white dudes that was the up on the top of the heads, the foreman and all them. They was trying to take shortcuts.
Yep.
So they tried to take shortcuts with the foundation, and the Mexicans were like, hey, no, you don't do that. But guess what? They didn't listen. Goddamn crane fell over because the foundation wasn't what it was.
Exactly.
And caused the whole, I think it killed a few people and it failed. So now it's stuck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this spills over into us to a degree because guess what? Like General said, everything that everybody comes in this country and does to put their group and their family on, we used to do.
Yeah.
And it's like we've evolved out of that. But what we've evolved into doesn't work.
Exactly. So what we have to do is we have to look at, and this is what I was telling you, going back to the basics. Do you know that I'm active duty military? Do you know, and this I've seen this across the board. These kids coming out of high school now, they can't even write, print, manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about you ask them to sign their name, they can't. They can't even write numbers. So it's not, the education system is not just designed for us. It's also affecting the other races of people, because I see it every day. And I started to notice things like basic shit that was taught in school: how to write your name in cursive, how to write your numbers, manuscript, how to print your name. They can't do it.
Yep.
No, they can't. They can't.
When you talk about education, it's not just affecting blacks. The miseducation now is also affecting the white community. It's also affecting the Latin community. It's also affecting the only people who can effectively still write in manuscript and write in cursive and print and things of that nature are the outsourcers, the ones that are coming from outside of the country. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is affecting everyone across the board. My basic point, and one of the reasons why I wanted to come up and speak on this topic is because, like I said, it's a great topic and it needs to be talked about. It has to be said. We are simply not taking advantage of the things that we have here, right, as black people within the communities. The tiers of universal study, okay? All colleges, to include the PWIs, HBCUs, and your private Catholic and religious institution, all of them all have tiers, okay? What is the top tier university for non-Christians? In other words, the top tier university for your Catholic. What is it? Do you know? What school would it be? What university would it be? Do you know?
At that university in Maryland?
No, negative.
I don't know then.
Notre Dame University. That's a Catholic. It's a private Catholic institution. It's been around for 120, 130 some odd damn years, right? That's where all of your big time main people who got money, your Catholic people. That's where they go to school at. Those are the universities where they end up going, right? That's a tier university, right? It was a PWI, but it was a PWI for Catholic people. Now I don't want to get into that and try to break down that dynamic. In your HBCUs, I'll go back to that because that is a university for us, supposed to be for us, by us, started by us, and all that jazz, right? You have tiers within there. What's the top universities for blacks? Give me a couple of them. Y'all been talking about one all evening.
You Howard?
The Howard University. What would be the next tier university, the one just under that?
Give me a second. FAMU.
Well, FAMU would be considered kind of close on the tier with a Howard.
Okay.
So my thing is when you talk about the ones
Southern.
that you hear, Southern. There you go. That's the next tier of HBCUs. So you see how it works. All of these schools and all of these institutions are based upon name. Yes, a degree from Southern University would not be as worth as much as a degree from Howard University, right?
Right.
You guys were just talking about that. That's because of the tier system. All right. So real quick, a little bit of history, and I don't like to talk history much on here because everybody. That's what it is.
One quick
It's
second.
Black History Month. We can talk history.
Oh, okay.
L.A.R.
All right.
Full
So
Circle wants to come
right.
on.
So
Okay, I'm gonna put it
when
in the
you
chat.
look at it, when you look at it, there was a time in this country when black athletes were not allowed to participate in sports against or with white athletes. Correct?
Right.
They figured it out. They said this is way before they started monitorizing the colleges and universities, right? This is way before then because there was a time in America when you look back in American history, that's how Martin Luther King was able to go to Morehouse University at the age of 15, 16 years old and get a damn because that's what our high schools were. Our high schools were colleges in the early forming stages of education in this country, right? So that's how Martin Luther King was able to go to a freaking university like Morehouse at the age of 15 and get a degree by the time he was 17, by the time he was 18 years of age. That's how that happened. Colleges and universities, they used to be free here. There was no scholarship program. There was none of that shit. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then they decided and figured out how they could make money off of it, right? That's why a lot of the Pell Grant systems and a lot of the grant systems have went away for students because it's all about money. That's why the what is it called when you get
General.
come on, help me out.
Hold on. Let me interrupt you for a second because you getting on schools and I need to say this in the middle of that because it goes with the title. Can we handle the truth? You might not want to be sending your damn kids out of state because you can do it online now. If you send your kids out of state from this point on, you're a dummy. They can go to that out of state school online and be in the damn state.
And avoid out of state tuition, out of state room and board. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Looks like paying more to get less.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we really need to be hard line on when we discuss them, so that people can gain the knowledge of how certain things play out. All of this shit is I call it theatrics, right? When you sit and you look at the goddamn debates, that's theater. That's high theater. That's all it is.
Hold on. No, Rollo, I didn't. I don't know what happened.
You didn't get the super chat. That means I have to call the people when I'm done.
I'm sorry. Don't want to change the dynamic of the discussion. I just wanted to say that we're under this impression that a lot of immigrants come to this country and they get breaks. Like, well, why come they get this? Well, they actually don't get a lot of breaks, given the fact that they come here with not a lot. What they do is, like my man said, they aggregate in their own communities and they come together. Just like in Dearborn, Michigan. Have y'all heard about what's going on up there?
Spill it.
In Dearborn, Michigan, right? Dearborn, Michigan has the largest community of people coming from what area of Africa is that right now? Damn.
It ain't Nigeria.
No,
it's Somalia. You talking about Somalia?
Yeah. It's over in East Africa.
It might be Somalia then.
Somalia.
There you go. And they also have a large influx of Arabics. That's why all your Arabics, most of the gas stations there in that particular section of Michigan and that city, they're owned by your Arabs, man. Because they came there and they cornered the market. We're not doing that. We'll complain about what's happening, but we're not cornering any markets.
Can I
Well,
jump
we
in?
talked about how that
Yeah,
happens during. Go
let
ahead.
Can I
Full
say
Circle get
something?
in.
Go ahead.
I want to jump in on this. Okay, this is for the panel or the chat or the general. Just literally in general. It was mentioned about Texas, the building and buying up property and setting up shop. And I'm noticing that, and this is just out there, it shouldn't be a shock or surprise because they've been doing this since the 80s and 90s. Like they've been doing it for a while. And how they work like ants. I don't want to say like roaches, but they work like ants. They go from one place to another to another. To me, honestly, and I got people, not besides yourself, L.A.R., but I got other people in Texas that gives me the 411 as far as property. And in fact, I was going to get another property, an apartment. You was mentioning property. I was going to work on something out there, but I kind of backed away from that. I fell back. And how I've watched and observed them, they're not slow pokes. They move exactly like you said, the general. They move exactly like that. They buy one, they put the families in, they move from there, they put their money together. They've been doing this like forever, forever. And I'm watching this, but I've noticed something too. I'm kind of jumping to the part of education. What I've noticed with the part of reading and math, and I know it gets kind of downplayed, and it was on O'Shea's with, and I'm gonna mention his name, Taz, when it was like STEM, 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 and it seemed like it was so funny, but that's where we're lacking. If you do a stat report or call, just make a phone call, look it up online as far as how our children are doing, with specifically the boys, we're doing horrifically. We're doing terrible. We're not even above. And when you look at it, we won't be around here for long. So you can imagine, you can call it from Generation Z to the next letter, you know what I mean? Alphabet. We're nowhere even in the margins. So 5 to 10 years from now, when it comes to competition and cursive writing, like that was mentioned on here before I jumped on, it's sad, to see our boys, let alone the girls, but the boys, yet they supposed to be the leaders. But then going back to the Hispanics with their buying and putting their money together, they're bilingual. They know both languages. And I've seen where some Hispanics and Mexicans, their English will be kind of broken, kind of like hard to understand. Give it a minute. They speaking English better than you and I, all of us on this panel or in the chat. It's amazing, but not amazing to say, you know what, how do they do it? They put forth the effort because they're driven and they know they're on a mission. They have a plan and they have a goal, and nothing is stopping them and taking them off of that. So when I hear this, where it's like, wow, and they're going over here and they're going there, that's nothing like back then it was kind of like, oh, what the hell? But now it ain't nothing, to see them do it. And you know what's so crazy about it? We just sit here and watch and see them do it. I don't see us like putting forth an effort, and it could be the teachers, it could be at home, where we're saying like, we got to get in this race because we're looking out for our own and our future. I don't ever see that. We talk about it, but if you go out there, put your best foot forward, you can literally see when it comes to the education with us as Blacks, ADOS, Black Americans, FBA, whatever acronym initial you want to call it, we're so lacking, it's not even funny. And they're looking at us as if like literally in a race, because that's what this is. As if like, bye-bye, like go speed racer, like catch up if you can. So when we're talking about supremacy, and you hear it all the time, white supremacy, no, that's the supremacy coming up. And I get it with Asia and the coronavirus. That's another whole different topic. When it comes to competing, this is the opportunity to be like, come on, Black American. You mentioned general construction. I do the same thing as far as observing. Sorry for being long-winded. Every time I drive to construction, I always look for a Black American out there. But you know what I see? I see the Hispanics out there. I see a dark-skinned Hispanic, where it's like I'm rooting, like Black American right there with the hard hat. No, I don't even see a flagger, because I used to be in the construction business myself, okay, as an apprentice. And I look out there and I say, I don't even see us. All I see across the board is Hispanic. You might see maybe one white, a Caucasian foreman, maybe. And that's kind of went to the wayside. They done took a back seat. And you might see an Hispanic foreman. Like they're literally moving up the sector, up the ranks. They'd be like, you know what? Whatever y'all don't want, we'll take. And that ain't just from fast food. That's from across the board.
Hold on. Okay, have you got it?
Well, Kevin Samuels, salute.
What's going on?
Oh, what's up, Kev? Yeah, but brother, you're absolutely
Hold
right.
on, General. Let
Okay.
Kev get it.
Huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
Kevin, I didn't
Yeah.
see it. I'm sorry, Kev.
I actually
I know
I
you
went off.
inspired this.
Huh?
I was listening to you when I was at work.
And I went off on I snapped on this subject because look, man, these people ain't playing with us. And when I was telling one of the brothers is like the brother said, I look and I look and I try to find somebody. Hey, if we are the guys who can build, the guys who are out here trying to do it, if guys want to sit around and don't want to take the information, they're working for the man already. Go start your shit and employ them. Because whatever the disconnect is right now with work ethic, the ethic, or whatever, you're not going to be able to convince these people with information. They got more information than they ever had before any time in their life. Why are we not getting the outcomes? And like we could say, talk about white supremacy and this and that, and all those things are issues, granted, but they are far downstream from a lot of the immediate problems that brothers are facing right now. So, can we handle the truth? I don't think so, man. I don't think we really want to deal with it because the truth actually comes back and looks you right in the mirror. Go ahead, General.
Rollo and the nameless. You got it.
Yeah, he's right. Kevin is right, man. It's like they prefer, to me, the onslaught of slaughter. They want to be slaughtered, and I'm not here to be slaughtered by these people. So if they want to continue their slaughtered way, that's on them. But it is frustrating knowing that you go out every day and you only see one or two of us doing something, man. Everybody else is sitting around waiting for what? There's no time to wait, no time for games.
Mm-hmm.
Nameless, you got it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean we brought this up before, and this kind of is alluding to the trust issue you brought up earlier, L.A.R. We're not willing to recognize that other groups have aggregated, and again, we can exist and get by as an individual. We won't thrive necessarily, and they'll blow out of proportion the dudes that do make success by that. But again, it's not because of the community; it's in spite of the community. So here we are as a group willing to work all hard, but we're not willing to take all of that work together towards a concentrated effort to do something. And it's just like what we saw with other people. That's why I gave that analogy of us putting all this work in to push uphill. Our energy expenditure is massive, but our end result is almost non-existent relative to other groups of people. And it's because other groups of people are working like other groups of people. And we just haven't, I guess, read the writing on the wall to recognize we should have done that. We had every advantage in the world to do it. In fact, we should be just like a certain ethnic group in this country now. That's allegedly, a minuscule number, but have agency over economic places, political standpoint, the legal system, have their way in the media to control their narrative, and they can educate their population to be what the community needs to the point where they can do what they want now and are. I think it's important. We've seen the information Kevin Samuels puts out there for free for us. And we just look at it like, as a group, like, man, I ain't doing that. And it's very indicative of our circumstance right now. Because at the end of the day, that's coming. Automation is going to change the whole game. But like he's saying, the skills he's trying to tell people to develop now, these are things that AI can't do. These are things that are going to stay relevant 50, 60 years from now when folks are trying to sell things via neurological implants. And then we're over here deciding what even fits the definition of human due to things like gene editing and all of that nonsense going on. Like, that's the reality right now. We got a whole space program that's going on now that Trump just signed into existence a few months ago.
Yeah.
General, could you
go ahead?
I'm sorry. No, General, can you hold on for a second? Because he just said something that I'm about to.
You are absolutely speaking facts, because that's why the outsourcing of, even when you call now, you know how you call to pay one of your bills, or you get a call from an insurance company and it'll be some damn Indian somewhere. They're not in America, man. Right. These people are outsourcing it. Why would they want to pay somebody, to work at their companies to perform the same type of work, telesales marketing, why would they want to pay somebody $10, $11, $12 an hour? And that's cheap when they can outsource that shit and pay somebody $3 an hour.
L.A.R., can I jump in?
Yeah, because I'm gonna be very disrespectful with what I'm about to say.
Okay, let me say this, and I mentioned this slightly before Kevin Samuels jumped in. I want to throw this in, and this is very important. I've been doing this myself, sharing what's been going on abroad, overseas, over in China. Where I'm going with this is my point of, I wish we would just, this is to you, what you're saying to the General Kevin Samuels and everyone on the panel. I wish we would seize the opportunity. Now, remember, General, like you said, a lot of things are outsourced, not just from customer service. You know, you pick up the phone, pay a bill, anything. Whoever you're with, your cell phone is usually, it sounds like, you know, a Filipino or an Indian. It's usually someone foreign, pretty much. And I sit back and I said, I get that. Okay, low rate wages, all that, do what you do. Okay, with that outsourcing. But I look at the season, the opportunity, our stuff, from where it's made, you know, from China, made in China. You all know it. We all have it somewhere in our homes, wherever we reside. It's made in China. And I look at it as Black Americans to say, like, you know what, this would be nice. Not just contracting, just literally the innovation, making something to where it's like, you know what, I don't wish that on anyone, what's happening over there, because it could happen anywhere. Even here, it's coming. But at the same time, when it comes to just business, to say, you know what you stopped over there, what has been shut down over there, just give an example, Apple, they've done shut things down over there. A lot of whoever has an iPhone, their parts, you name it, just the cell phones, things where it goes back to history, knowing your history, where inventors, our ancestors, where it's like Blacks. See, I wish Information Man was somewhere because he's probably listening to this. Hopefully he'll listen to the replay. Seize the opportunity, Black people, ourselves, to look for that opportunity to be like, okay, to that CEO, whoever we need to talk to, the gatekeeper, we can make that product for you. We can mass produce that product for you. I look at it, L.A.R., General King, Kevin Samuels, forgive me, Rollo, on a different level, where it's like, we're not even there. So when we go there, when it comes to where we downplay it, math and reading, where it's like, this is where we need to be, because this is literally the future. And one day, not just even one day, it's here. So we're not even prepared, not just prepared for what's going to happen when it comes to just the virus. We're not even prepared when it comes to the opportunity. Isn't that insane? To where it's like, yo, they can't do it. So we're knocking on Kevin Samuels' door. We need this amount of products. Can you do it? Yes or no? We're contracting you to get like millions, when you sitting back saying, damn, I didn't think that opportunity would have ever came. And all of a sudden, General Kevin Samuels, they coming to you. You, Mr. Black American Kevin Samuels, General L.A.R., we need you. Not tomorrow. We need an answer today. We're about to write a check for you. And you sitting here like, thank God. But we're not even there. We can't even compete. And you know it's the truth.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Go ahead. Not prepared.
I'm going to do it.
Go ahead. Get them.
We're not prepared, man.
We're not.
Now I gotta.
We want to blame.
Hold on,
and see, I got out of that because I was.
General.
You know, I was taught from a different lineage, man.
General, just give me 1 second.
You don't sit back and wait on somebody.
Hold on, let our talk, guys. Hold on, everybody.
I don't know. I think Kevin and I may be the same age. The rest of you.
Hold on, General.
I don't think he can hear.
I don't think he can hear you.
I don't think he can hear you.
He's just going and going. Go ahead.
Who is that speaking? Somebody speaking?
Yeah.
No, we're waiting for you. L.A.R.
speak.
He can't hear me. Okay.
L.A.R.,
okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can't hear me. Tell him he can't hear me. Tell him to come back in.
You can't hear him, General. You got to come back out and come back in.
Come back in. He had a phone call coming in. Yeah, that happens when you got a phone call using your phone.
Okay. I'm gonna tell him I'll put the link back in the chat so he can come back. I gotta say this because I'm about to be mad disrespectful, but I'm really gonna try my best to not curse. The truth is, we don't have a plan, even as individuals. I don't care if you got a long-term plan or a short-term plan. A lot of us just don't have a plan. Everybody wants to go to school, but nobody has a plan to pay off the debt. Everybody wants to get a degree, but nobody has a plan to use it in a field. Everybody wants to I want to travel, but you don't have no land in the country you leaving from to go travel to. everybody wants stuff, but nobody has the wherewithal to say, you know what? Maybe I could put some of this stuff aside. Everybody wants to go to the grocery store, but nobody can even grow their own small food. See, the issue that I'm dealing with right now, thinking about our people, is I don't care if you get into a 30-year mortgage. As long as you got the 30 years to pay to suck off to have some land at the end of the day. I don't care if you in a stock. As long as you got a plan that you're going to take some wins, you're going to take some losses, but you're not going to break yourself. Hold on, General. I got you. Hold up. I see you right now. Hold up. Hold up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, General?
Yeah, I got. Yeah. Can
okay.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
The issue is we're fighting a losing battle because we want to party before we plan. And then when the party's over and everybody else can party because they finished their plan, now we upset. Like, yeah, in my personal opinion with us, we are the most talented group in the world by far. But you know what our problem is? We're the most talented group in the world by far. So everybody else don't have the options we do, so they can't bullshit like we do. Well, that's the problem.
That's why I said,
Yep. Facts.
So now I'm like, okay, we're in a situation where we don't see it until it's too late. These other groups, okay, think about it. Whites, Asians, Hispanics, Arabs, or Muslims, a lot of them can't say, you know what, if all this work, I'm gonna play football, I'm gonna play basketball, I'm gonna rap, I'm gonna be a singer. See, they don't really have that option like that. They don't think, oh man, you know what, man, I could just, bust a little groove. Maybe they don't have it like that. Maybe I could write a book or 5 books. They don't have it like that because they don't have the quote unquote pulse on culture. But we got so much of the pulse on culture, we don't have a pulse on a goddamn reality of blue collar or handwork or just group economics. But before I start cussing, I'm done. Go ahead, Kevin. In general, you got it.
Kevin, okay. So here's what I think to follow up what on L.A.R. just said. I think that you look at a major highway system, right? And then you have the service roads off to the side of the major highway system. I think that we are so wanting to be on the service roads, right? We don't want to get into the main arteries of economics, and we don't want to get into the mainstream arteries of education. We want to take the B route. We got to get out of that thought process and get into the main arteries of society, because everything else is moving forward ahead and we're being left behind. So we can continue to stay back here and look at, where we came from. We can continue to stay back here and travel the service roads, and everybody's out there driving. The speed limit is 75 on the main roads, but your ass want to stay on the service road where the speed limit is 45. People are driving 80 and 85, and you barely can get to 50 because you want to stay on the service road. We're getting left behind once again. These opportunities only come along in our societies since we've been so-called, quote-unquote, post-slavery, since the modern era has started, 1900s. We got to get out of the service road and get into the main flow of traffic. Because if we don't, we're going to be left behind.
Let me. Okay.
I want to go behind Kevin Samuels on that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it short. Here's the problem with getting off the service road, General. Leadership exposes character and vulnerabilities. When I was first promoted into my first management supervisory kind of position, all the bitch in me came out, every last bit of it. I didn't know it was there until I got a little power. What did I have to do if I ever wanted to be in a position to manage or lead again? I had to acquire skills that I did not know. I had to humble myself and become a better follower, check that shit. See, in order to get off the side road and get off the basketball and the rap and everything else to get into the places of leading businesses, companies, corporations, industries, we got to go get a skill set that many of you guys know they don't have. You got to take that first step, fail, and then figure out where you need to go to. It's a humbling experience that far too many of us don't want to do because A lot of black men can't they don't want to fail in front of people. See, when I talked about my first failure experience, it was back when I was in my teens at McDonald's. I couldn't imagine having that kind of. I try to put myself in that position. Imagine that failing like 28 or 30 on the stage in front of people, wherever you working. You know, we don't have that much room. We don't have that much rope. But brothers gonna have to do that, and we got to be. And when these brothers fail, we got to be able to support them because they just looking for us to fail anyway. And if you stay down there, they can at least say we gave you that chance. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in. L.A.R. I'm gonna go off of what you just said, but I'm gonna run this to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, you hit the hammer on the nail. That's 100. And what I mean by that, I'm gonna use you as an example, as far as power and as far as universal. I wish we were pretty much more universal right now, no matter what time span or time you came up in. The time is now. The right time is now. So if I go to Kevin Samuels, for an example, and I need something, and Kevin Samuels says, and I'm going as far as like dress, gear. And I'm like, okay, Kevin Samuels comes to me and says, hey, what do you need it? You know, what's the occasion? I say, for a wedding.
Hold on, full circle. Hold on for 1 second. Tangeray, I know you know me because you be in O'Shea stuff. Here's the problem that you got with that statement right there. Won't you put up the other groups and how many CEOs they had over all these years too? Don't play silly now. My bad.
Okay. So if I go to Kevin Samuels, once again, he asked me, hey, I stepped to him to a store. Let's just say to a store. And he's like, what's the occasion? Nah, it's for a wedding. And Kevin Samuels says, okay, it's for a wedding. I got exactly what you need. You know, he hooks me up with a tuxedo from head to toe. Everything I need. He goes from the tuxedo to the perfume. Okay. He goes from the perfume to the like, hey, I just in conversation, just in passing. Hey, we need someone to do some decorating. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, the decorator we had for the wedding it called in sick. Or, last minute they sick. They can't make it. And I've been like stressing. Kevin Samuels says, hey, I do that too. Get where I'm going with this. Kevin Samuels, I sit back and say, you know what? Man, the last time someone referred me to a caterer. I don't think, from word of mouth, I did a reference check. I hear that they got less stars or whatever, zeros or ones or twos or threes compared to 10. Kevin Samuels says, hey, I know a caterer. You know what I mean? In other words, Kevin is all in one. He's universal. He's almost to the point that if it came down to speak in another language, Kevin Samuels is my man. So where I'm going with this is that we need to be more universal. I use you as an example, Kevin Samuels, when it comes to power. That's just me. When a person, a man, woman, just a child growing up being taught, getting a trade, a skill, and they are universal. And I've seen with Hispanics, when it just comes to skills, you go to them, hey, I need some plumbing done. Okay. You know what? I need the lawn done. I can do that too. And I'm not saying, downplaying it. What I'm saying is that
hold on, fam. You see this, this, I'm sorry. Tangeray, what you said, it takes 25 years plus, huh? 25 plus years. You see this the problem right there. You see what you just did? I asked you to put up somebody else's group and you gave me an excuse. But when you was in the chat, you was talking about what black people couldn't do. I looked it up my goddamn self and it's 10 Hispanics right now. So we got 13, they got 10. But now it takes 25 years plus. This is the bullshit I be talking about. We're going to prop up every other goddamn group, but actually when you go down to the numbers, they still ain't topped us yet. So if we're going to beat each other over the head, that's cool. But don't be brand new. You got your goddamn suit on, you looking fly as shit. You got a smartphone in the pocket, So we got to stop playing this bullshit game now. I get we got some fucked up shit, but don't act like everybody else is just light years ahead of us. We just fucking up even though we're in second place. But my bad, fool.
Yeah.
No, that needs to be said.
Just be universal. Like I said, I'm not putting them on no higher stage or a plateau or a higher stool or chair. But I look at it to where it's like, if you need something from them, like my mechanic just yesterday, he said I was tired. Now he's a mechanic, but he said, I said, tired from what? He said, his back. Your back? Yeah. He said, yeah. Working on my roof. I said, your roof. So where I'm going with this, and he's Hispanic. He says, he didn't go out to go get his buddies or a friend or hire someone else. He's doing it on his own. So where I'm going with this, not to say that we can't be and that we're not. I would like to see more of us, even when it comes to getting the opportunity and seizing opportunity for opportunities or jobs that pop up. Someone comes to us to say, hey, I need this. Can you do it? Yes or no? You know what? I can. And I can even give you a better price than such and such Jose or Hector or Jesus can do. And not just that, if you need that for your wife or your husband, I can do that too. Like, you can do everything. And I think that's when it comes down to where it's like where the competition comes in. Don't just be good at one thing, be good at everything. To me, in a nutshell, that's power. That's very powerful. So whoever wants to take it, but that's just me though.
I think there's, how do I want to say this? I agree with that. I definitely do. I've been saying a lot lately that Black men should begin seeing themselves as the universal man in general, because that's the direction global culture is heading anyway. And in that kind of way, it helps us to develop a kind of agenda, because if you see certain thought patterns, and you'll notice that with individuals that end up being a lot like Kevin and maybe even yourself, you got to where you were because you realized you didn't have any option. It was that or death. And it takes a very small percentage of people. It is a very small percentage of people who have put themselves or have been in these positions to where it's success or nothing. And they will continue irrespective of the times that you fail. And we begin to see this idea being brought up in a lot of areas of even European culture, like Friedrich Nietzsche. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work, but he talks a lot about master and slave mentality. And here we are with, the question that's on the title: are Black people ready for the truth? And the truth is, you get nothing without suffering. And if you're not successful, it's because you haven't suffered enough and haven't made that decision to go for it, irrespective of everything. When you're willing to give up everything to gain that one thing, that's when you'll find yourself in a position to have that energy to make it happen. And you'll do it by any means necessary. And that's not to say you're going to cutthroat everybody, but when groups of men aggregate under that principle, things get done. And that's how it's always been done. And until we begin to see that, it's not going to happen. But to address something that was said in the chat, I do think these talks have the potential to get people on a kind of code so that we can get this information that we literally weren't getting when we were coming up. A lot of us, we came up with single mothers. A lot of us did. If we were mentored by other groups of people that didn't look like us. And so we have these one directional outlets of leave the community. And again, the whole be successful in spite of, not because of. Or we were placed in a position to where we were told we're the man of the house at 10 years old. And now we're getting into all these non-constructive things, but they produce money at the end of the day, which is where we go back to that whole energy inefficiency dynamic that we tend to adopt. These talks are helping. And the bottom line is every one of us is not going to make it. In fact, the vast majority of us probably won't. But I think if enough of us sit down and get serious with this program and really recognize what time it is and really hold on to whatever lead we do have and work on multiplying that, those may be the future possibility makers, opportunity makers down the line. Because yes, this is a matter of timing for us at this moment. We're in the midst of AI coming online.
Can I add something to what you're saying, brother? What's your name?
Nameless Protagonist.
Protagonist?
Yes.
Okay, Protagonist. Let me jump on this, L.A.R. Protagonist. I'm gonna share something with you all deep. Protagonist, Rollo, L.A.R. General. How it came clear and real to me was when I think I was between 5 and 7 years old, and it was just my mother, right? And I'm gonna throw something at you that's a trip that I've noticed, and I'm not in every family's home, so I don't know how they teach and how things are ran. When my mother said, And I'm not trying to go on no Bible thumping or religious tip, but when she said that you won't be on this earth forever, when she said you won't be on this earth forever, of course, in my mind, I was like, what do you mean, Mom? You know, just questioning. What do you mean? She's like, one day you're going to die. And I was like, wow. So don't judge. But for someone to tell you that, in a way, it's like you don't understand, but in a way, it's kind of deep. And until you get it, when you're young, you don't get it. But just to let you know, as far as my mind and my way of thinking was so far ahead, it was like right then and there was like, so you pretty much telling me I don't have that much time. So when that was instilled in my head, I only had a certain, that mindset had already kicked in at that age to say, I got a certain amount of time. No, I ain't rich. No, my parents ain't got no money like that, and for no Harvard or all these high-ranking schools or HBCUs, whatever. I didn't know what was planned. I had no idea. But just that alone, it was like as I was getting older, from 5, 6, 7, 8, on and on and on, I had a certain amount of time on my own, with or without my parents' help, my mother's help, to say I got to get it in. I got to get it in. Where I'm going with this is that I've always had that driven mindset. When it comes to other families, I don't know if they're told that, you know what, you got to get it in. You have no choice. You have to start now. I don't care what it is, because you have to get prepared and set for your future. I can only help you so far. From there on, you know, and it might be your lifestyle, your surroundings, your peers. All of that take a part. But when it came to that part alone, and I'm looking at that from that to now, and relating it to where you coming from, general, you know, from that time age, you know, of different time ages, that's how it was for me. And it hasn't stopped. It still stands where it's like, I only got so much time. We look on YouTube, we discuss it in news, social media, who's the next one passed away, from prominent people to your average, to your Joe Blows, to the homeless. Everyone's, you know, life is different. But we have ones out there, I don't know, maybe it's been the same. But for myself, when I knew that I only had so much time on this earth, I went in from 0 gear to 5th gear, and I haven't stopped. And I'll still have that until I have no more breath in my body. They have that saying, don't, you know, I'll die, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And that's how I live.
Now,
I wanted to add on if you don't mind, L.A.R. So this is very important that I realize. We have been living in these confined cities for a long time. We're supposed to do business in the city and live off the land that was created for us. See, people from other parts of the world, they have a land to go to. We don't have an actual land to go to because we wanted to get involved with everybody else's affairs instead of fixing our own affairs. So my parents always say, go for what's best for you and do not be part of a place that is not recognizing our way of doing things. And so we got to get back to the nature. Nature is very important to get into nature now. Because of all these things that's happening, we're so far behind on certain things because we got everything in the city. I remember growing up, my godparents is Jamaican. They will always take me out to the farthest to the forest, get into the nature, get into knowing the sounds. So if anything was to happen, you know what to do. The average Black home does not be prepared for the unknown. We're not prepared for the unknown, most of us. Most can't walk, most can't run, most don't know how to swim, most don't know how to do thorough exercise. You got men want to be, it's just, man, it's madness. Everybody else is pretty much on board of doing this except us.
Can I interject on this part of it? We might want to take into consideration, and I'm trying to be gentle, but I'm just going to be honest. We don't know how to do business.
At this point, no, we just know how to be consumers.
Like, let's be honest. Like a lot of the things, a lot of our successes come from happenstance, or we worked our way to a certain position. It doesn't. You know, we even when we work our way to great positions, we're learning business once we get there. We haven't taught each other how to do business. Even, you know, to take it further, and it ain't just the business aspect. we haven't taught each other, you know, if you go to college and you want to have this major or get this kind of degree, we haven't taught each other which way to go, what direction we're going to be going in life if we go down those paths. So as far as doing business, we that's something that's not our thing. It's just, you know, not saying it couldn't be our thing, but it's just not. We're not taught about wholesale or buying in bulk, or we're not taught about the prices and profits off of the top. You know, you buy something for 50 cents, you sell it for 75. We're not doing that. We're not taught how to.
L.A.R.
Yeah, we
L.A.R.
don't. What's happening?
But check this out. Just jumping in, and you stand correct. You are correct. Even out where I reside, I've watched, and I'm gonna give an example. And once again, it's like I'm using them for an example because I have to. Going back to the general and the construction sites, you know, one Hispanic lady. I don't know how many she started out with, and I'm just talking about as far as hair. Now, she doesn't have it's not a barbershop. It's literally like a little salon, but she's able to cut hair. Let's put it like that. So she's not a barbershop. She had from 5 to 6. I think she must be from that number to 13 or 15. You spoke of business, L.A.R. Now we know if we either do it ourselves or we go to someone. The barber charges us $15, men, if you know in the chat, or to get trimmed up, depending on what you get done, 15 to 20 to 25. Okay. I noticed there ain't no celebrities here, so it might be more, but on the average, it's around that amount. This lady charges at her shop with the sign, $5 haircuts. Now, inside, when you get in there, depending on if you get it tapered or whatever you get, it might be $10. But where I'm going with this, it doesn't go more than 20. And and now, honestly, her prices have gone up by $5, so maybe 15. But what she started off with, L.A.R., when you spoke of business, strictly $5 for the longest. She jumped to $10. From 10, it's 15, but it's not 15 for everybody across the board. It's still $5 and $10, and it's definitely $5 for the children. So where I'm going with this is that she knew how to go below. She went lower. She didn't go higher. She went lower. She went from 5 to 6, and I've literally seen this on a business card where she's typed, this Hispanic lady, all the little spots, her little shops. Now, I don't even think she uses a business card anymore, and she's literally got from little houses that she leases, little leasing spots, little small spots, because you got to be able to have a sink and all that per the cosmetology board and whatever. But wherever she can find property, she'll snatch it up. It give her 2 years. It'll be another one popping up where it's like, what? And how you can tell? Just look for the little $5 sign. She knows how to do business.
Hold on. I'm gonna make it in this way, and I appreciate you for saying that.
Yeah.
The reason I say what I said prior is because you know what died down in our community that I don't see anymore? Paying the kids who make the honor roll, getting money from the family. See, small things like that wind up being big things because the kids make the honor roll, you don't give them no money. But the kids want some sneakers that don't make the honor roll, they got fresh sneakers. The reason why I'm saying that we don't know business is because we're rewarding the average and the lazy children.
Correct.
And we're making the exceptional children work extra hard with no rewards. So get what we're doing in general. We're sabotaging the best of us. So a lot of those kids don't, a lot of the kids that you would think are brilliant, they don't have business savvy because they have to get themselves in a position financially to start to have business savvy. They're not supported like that. I was thinking about it because you know where I work, Full Circle, so you know what it is.
Yeah, we good. Yeah, I got you, man.
I was working one day, long time ago. I was outside, and these little black kids had a lemonade stand. So I wanted to support their youth and entrepreneurial spirit, right? So I bought a lemonade, but then I gave them enough money to give away a bunch of lemonade so they could get people to come by. Last year, I was at the gym working out. I'm at the counter, and this young dude is staring at me. And I couldn't figure out who he was, and he couldn't figure out who I was. Come to find out, he was that little kid from years ago. He about 6'2" now. And he remembered that. And I started thinking to myself, like, you know what the problem is? We don't reward children like that. So how the hell we want people to get into business or do business or go be doctors or go be lawyers when we just say you could go be that, but the minute they get A's or B's, we just say, oh, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. But your little cousin over there who got in 3 fights and cussed out a teacher, his ass got an iPad, a new outfit, a goddamn new smartphone, and he just got his hair cut. That's a problem.
You know, you just touched on a deep pathology that applies to more than just what you said, and that is a running pattern all throughout our culture, unfortunately. And that disincentivization, and then you stack onto what you said earlier about lack of trust. And how many times do you see a lot of us congratulating each other for our successes and then wanting to learn from that, and then questioning the motives of why somebody would want to learn from that? I'm sure we've seen that a lot, where, you know, that inherent mistrust rears its head to where we don't share trade secrets with each other to put each other onto certain things, at least not to the degree that I see other groups of people do that. And it's so profound, because I would sit at church some mornings and I would just listen to what the Spanish community was saying. And I'd learn more about what was going on from them than I would from, you know, our own little sector. I'd be at work and I would just hear casual conversation supervisors would be having with each other. And I would learn more about things like the stock market and all of that than I ever would have sitting in the barbershop. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So L.A.R. question, would that go under, and you all can jump in and help me with this, would that go under the category of image, partially or as a whole, even as for kids? Because as I can see, kids don't even these days even have an image to look up to. And I don't mean just the, you know, LeBron James and the Shaqs, you know, or the whatever of our days. Back then, I'm going, telling you my age, Magic Johnson, but let's come current, LeBron James. But I'm looking at the image, like what type of image do the kids have or to have to hold on to or to look up to? Because I've noticed it's always going to be the same. I've noticed now, help me with this, you all, if you've gone through this. I remember not just growing up, and this is when it really kicked in the community. I could approach a black family, mother, father, or just the mother with some kids. And guess what, folks? The first thing they look at was my shoes. I could never understand why the boys would always look at my shoes. And it hit me. I was like thinking to myself, like, nah, maybe they just admiring and looking. And my shoes would just be regular shoes. If you wanted to, you could probably even clown me. But it hit me to sit back and think, wait a minute, I ain't got on the latest such and such or so-and-so brand. And when I started to see it, and then as time went on to where it went down to like what these children invest in and what they put their money in, I don't care if it's Foot Locker, you name it, Champions, any of them stores. And I look at it where it's like, this is crazy. Our children's priorities and mindsets is off the charts. And I don't mean in a good way. When it comes to certain things where they put their money in and what they put their investments in, even if it came to them getting older and we're younger and older to go in and go when it comes to stocks, I look at it where it's like, this is real messed up. So you mean to tell me what I have on, going back to cars and rims and all that good stuff, is more important than what's out there when it comes to your future, when it comes to education, when it comes to everything other than that. And that's why I started to look at it in advance. Like, you know, we are truly, not all, were truly lost. When I saw that, and this was across the board, every time and it wasn't just on the basketball court, just out anywhere, it would be that black young boy at a young age. He would look right at my shoes, and it was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. I go to another family, and white kids, I'm gonna go there. They just looking at you in your face, of course, but you know, because it's like, oh, they ain't never seen a black man before. But when it came to our children, they looking at your gear, but they looking at your shoes, and then they work their way up. And I said, this is crazy. But you take it, once again, maybe that's just me, but I feel image is lost. and it's really everything. Just about. Go ahead.
Our image is simple and complex, because even the people that we have images of, ironically, we have images of athletes and entertainers. And the funny part about the athletes and entertainers is we never look at their business savvy as a totality. We look at their image as athletes and entertainers. You know, you see LeBron James, oh, he big, he got all these tattoos, but you never think about the businessman. You go to the movies, he got freaking movies in the trailer. What you think Bron means? Where that's from? That's from LeBron James. That's why he went to the Lakers in the first place, to get into Hollywood. We don't look at that stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
We don't look at you know, the athletes and entertainers who do certain deals and have certain side gigs and side hustles, and we don't see the things behind the scenes, because when I see the brightest of us in those aspects talk business, they can't talk business to us. And it's funny because how many of us listen to Jay-Z? Oh, Jay-Z is such an entrepreneur. Well, if he's such an entrepreneur, he's dropping so much business, Jules, how come you can't figure it out yet? See, you got 9 albums, but you never figured out what the hell he was saying, and you never applied it. So either he's a fucking genius at businesses and he puts it in music, or you are full of shit and you just like the beat. So when it comes to us, we have this dynamic where we don't look at things like, we don't respect. We can't see Steve Jobs, we can't see Bill Gates, but forget them. You know what I'm saying? Just toss them aside. We forget about Bob Johnson. We forget about Robert Smith. We forget about the business Magic Johnson does, and he's an athlete. You get what I'm saying? Like we forget how to leverage our image and our culture to get to a certain space. Y'all want to think about Jay-Z and how Jay-Z got where he was? Let me give you a quick history lesson about hip-hop if you're a hip-hop head. Jay-Z just had a damn good habit of to be ahead of trends and promote trends, and when the shit got hot, you went back to his ass. That's what was happening. All the clothing you thought was fly, he was promoting it first, and then when you thought it was hot, he had already had it. The jewelry, that. The cars, that. The clothes, that. The watches, that. But people don't take that. Oh, damn, what are you talking about? You ain't never seen a Bentley until you seen the Hard Knock Life album. In life, 9 times out of 10. But people didn't think about that. So even when you take that part out of it, part of what you're talking about full circle is this. We got children. We're waiting on children to get in the position that parents should already be in.
Yep.
I was going to throw in the general on that. I think the general was going to kind of mention that.
General, man.
Yeah. He was trying to mention that before, right when you said that with the Jay-Z example, and then it got when Kevin Samuels was still here, and he was mentioning like and then it got cut off instead of waiting.
I'm sorry.
Instead of waiting.
Sorry.
Go ahead. General was coming in on that earlier. Go ahead.
Okay, it's been so much fire that's spitting out here, man. I kind of lost my track when I got cut off. But at the end of the day, man, you're absolutely right. We have children doing the jobs of. Okay, listen. If you go to a fucking McDonald's or a Taco Bell right now, 9 times out of 10, if you go during the day, you're gonna see maybe some adults, young adults, right? But if you go on the weekends, guess what you're gonna see? More motherfuckers that are young adults, not teenagers. See, I came up at a time when you went to McDonald's or Taco Bell, wherever, all you would see in there working, you would see one grown-up, which was generally the manager, maybe 2, and then you would see a whole bunch of kids in there. Now you got grown people doing these jobs, 30, 40 years old. We're getting left behind, man. We're getting left behind. Here's when you talk about image. Let me tell you how I was successful, and I'll pat myself on the back as an Army recruiter, right? So they sent me to one of the worst places as far as recruitment was concerned to recruit young men and young women into the Army, right? So I was in New York, for example, right? And you know, the brothers in New York, they ain't hearing that shit. Get that Army shit out of here, man. Fuck all that bullshit. So I had to reinvent myself. So the little government car that they gave me, the little plain ass Chevrolet government car, I would take that home and park it. And I would get into the little BMW that I shipped back over from Germany that was lowered and had the nice little aftermarket wheels on it and had the sound in it, right? That's what I would drive. And I'd pull up and immediately it would catch their attention. This ties back into what the brother was saying about looking at the shoes. Immediately it would catch their attention. So I'd jump out and I'd have my little uniform on and they have a bunch of questions. Oh man, that's hot right there. How you get there? And I go to the malls, I just walk around, drive through the parking lot, bump the sound. Hey, let me talk to you for a minute, right? And I would tell them the truth. How you get this? Man, look, hey, let me talk to you for a minute. And I would tell them the truth. Hey, Uncle Sam, the government is paying for this. How? I said, well, the government pays you a salary, and then that allowed me they paid for me to go overseas. And then when I got over there, I was able to get the car at a much cheaper price because they make them there. Then I shipped it back, and here I am. And it was like, oh man, I want one. So through that conversation, right? Through that conversation, I was able to engage these young men and these young ladies because they wanted to know. And I would take my laptop and I would show them pictures of my travels, videos of my travels. When I went to Hawaii, when I went to, I did all this bullshit training all over the world. I went to Africa, I went to Germany. I would show them these things and it would spark their interest. And that's how I became successful in the recruiting side of the house for the military. My point being, when I tell this story, is so that we have to understand how to communicate, how to tickle and inspire the mindset of our young people. Because right now they're numb. If you ain't got the big chain with the goddamn diamonds and the big Jesus piece or whatever, if you ain't got the the Marc Jacob watch, if you ain't driving around in the S5 X600 Benz, if you ain't goddamn me dressed with the Gucci head to toe fly, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So we got to be able to communicate with these. We got to be able to reach our people at a different level, man, because we're so drained right now for inspiration. This goes back to what L.A.R. was just saying. We're simply drained for inspiration because everybody is on this. What is the Obama program that he put? No Kid Left Behind. Everybody,
Exactly.
no matter
was
if you're
Bush.
first. Listen to what I'm saying, though. Check me out. So you run a race. You got these kids, right, that participate in athletics all the way from elementary all the way up to high school. And no matter what place they come in, they all were getting the same trophies and ribbons, right? You could be last in a race of 10. You got the blue ribbon too. You won. So that's why our drive is so low, because we're operating from a minimum standard. They're grading everybody. Everybody gets graded on the curve now. And I remember this when I was going to college back in the day, many, many years ago, about 37 years now. I remember this girl, she was complaining because she wanted the highest mark in the class, but the professor was grading on the curve. And she said, no, it's not fair. I should have the highest mark in the class. She said, you can't, that's not fair. And she didn't understand the new, how they grade, when you grade on the curve. She said, okay, if this person has an 88.9, how can you grade them on the curve so they could get the same mark that I get? Very competitive, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where we are. We want everything. For black people, want everything on the fucking curve. That's why when you go into these black stores, black owned and operated stores, Foot Locker, for example, my homeboy, he was fortunate enough to buy himself a branch of the Foot Locker, right? Brothers were coming there. As soon as they found out it was a black dude that owned that branch of Foot Locker, they started talking deals immediately. Immediately. Oh, come on, let me get it for the low. Man said, well, how the fuck can I stay in business if I'm making these backdoor hookup deals? And this is where we are in our mindset.
But General, hey, I got one to add on to what you just said. This is cold, but this is true. As students in school, let's just say high school, okay, junior high school, and the teachers got the students, and you got your comrades, your friends, your buddies, whatever, your peers, and we sitting in there taking a course in school, and in particular, whatever that course might be, the teachers, schooling us, and one of us, maybe myself, or we all as a group say, why are we Why do we need to learn this? We ain't gonna use it in the real world. We ain't gonna use it when we get older. And I've witnessed this and seen it. I've literally seen adults struggle and have a hard time in that same course that they dissed and knocked and said, I don't even know that. I don't even know how to do that. Something simple, something that they should have learned in school, but they made fun of and they pushed it by the wayside. And maybe that's different from what you're saying, General, about the curve. But I've seen it where it was like, see, you downplayed it. And now you looking like, and now you got a young person showing you something that making you look like, dang, I really feel dumb because I played myself when I should have took advantage of the opportunity of that course of that teacher. Not saying that you sleeping, but you took it for granted and said like, y'all don't need that, man. And the teacher gonna give me a D minus. At least I made it, knowing damn well you should have got an F, but at the same time you needed it. And I've literally seen grown-ups struggle their butts off, and where they can't even, where it might be a particular career or a job, hint, where it's like you needed that, and you can't even, get the money. You talking about you knocking and hating on somebody making six figures and more, but at the same time, if you would have applied yourself, this is going there, General. This has nothing to do with any of our ages that I've witnessed it, and I've been in that position where it was like, oh man, you don't know, because you don't know what life might, have or you might entail for you. So I had to throw that in when you mentioned curve, because it's like, you know what, I see it now. And I don't know if it's trickled down to the youth today where it's like, so-and-so, they're going to be all right. They're going to make it. And I've literally seen these kids now struggling, not just from being lazy, but they thought they figured, I ain't going to need it. I'm just going to get some little basic. And now you
remember Full Circle when we was coming up, they had club socials in schools and they had things to do. See, what happened was America decided to take away home activities and outdoor activities. It's at an all-time low. They used to take you roller skating. Before you went roller skating, you had to do your work and stuff. They take you on trips. They'll take you around, get your mind going. Because this is why I want to say. If you try to keep a so-called black man or so-called black woman indoctrinated in these places, but don't give them something to do to keep their mind going, what's going to end up happening, they're going to rebel. That's why it's a lot of rebelling going on in these schools. Because they're not giving them the proper diet. They're not giving them the proper activity. In Jamaica, let me finish. In Jamaica, the kids do the work, but they out in the playground at the same time. They give them things to do. They keep their mind going, keep their mind spiraling. You can't close mind people to do one thing and don't give them an opportunity to do other things. So when you take away all the activities away from the people, they're going to rebel, and that's what's going to happen here.
Well, that's why.
Hold up. No, because I'm gonna shut it down in a minute, but I want everybody to get their last word in so I could go, because I got to be up at 5. Okay. But I'm gonna say this to what you said, Full Circle. That's the joke that Patrice O'Neal said in that last stand-up, that he didn't know how to type.
Boy.
But y'all
hit the nail. You hit it. You hit another nail.
Yeah, I was just George. George. Mr. General, I'm sorry, saying George. Check this out. This is where I was going with this, Rollo. Like back then, there was a time we all came from not a different era, just different schools, different schooling. And I remember there was a time where the teachers, it had nothing based. It wasn't nothing about how much they were paid. Like literally there was teachers that was like, it wasn't even about that, depending on what era and where you come from, that it was like, it was about the students. It was their mission to make sure them kids was going back to that no child left behind. It was like, these kids are going to learn if it kills me. And there was literally teachers that was kick butt teachers. I mean, they was on point. They was going to make sure you was going to get a B and A. Now we in an era, in a time where it's like, I ain't getting paid enough. So since I ain't getting paid enough, it's like it's not a bad excuse, but it's like, it's always, hey, I'm not getting paid enough. It's too many kids in the schools. The schools are overcrowded. I kid you not. There was teachers back then where it was like, they literally wanted to make sure you made it. It had nothing to do with the money. And maybe, I don't know how much they got paid, their wages, but it was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure, because I know that I didn't get that opportunity. So I see kids, and literally the teachers could relate to those children to sit back and say, I want them to be something one day. And it wasn't that they was their parents or guardians. They literally put their heart into those children. Right now, this era is on some whole different, it's on a whole different page, whole different level. And it's literally a struggle. They talk about pick a struggle. This is a struggle I don't think we was planning on, you know? This is way off course.
I started seeing it in 97. I
Yeah.
started seeing it here in 97. I never forget the day. When I woke up, I said something gonna happen within 4 years. Well, we know what happened in 4 years, but from that 2001. But before 2001, I noticed that they were starting to push this. You know, that's going into the college time, because I'm 41. So it's like now it's starting to make a lot of sense. They took away everything. So when you go to these other places around the world, you're like, wait a minute, that's what I was doing. They haven't changed their mind. They want to make sure that they competing. This country say, no, we don't want you to compete no more. We're gonna give you everything. We're gonna give you the phones, we're gonna give you the laptops, we're gonna give you everything. We're gonna push all of this in your face, but we don't want you to be active. The average American cannot even walk 5 goddamn blocks, whether you in shape or not. Can't even walk 6 miles. They huffing and puffing. I do this every day. 6 miles, go over the bridge. Got no time for no car. Even when I was in another state, when I was married to my Indian Jamaican wife in New Jersey, I was walking, bicycling, man. You guys got away from that now. Most of you Negroes can't even walk up the stairs, man. Get tired fast. Jeez.
That's fact. My last words will be this, and then I'm gonna let L.A.R. or L.A.R. is gonna shut it down. So here's what we have to do. We have to get away from all of the things that have been inflated within our community. I got young boys now, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I've done quite well. 22 years active duty military. I've done pretty decently for myself. I have a nice car, whatever. And these young boys will see it, and they'll say, the first thing they'll say is, man, I'm gonna get one of them. Well, wait a minute, guy, you just came in the Army. You don't make enough money, Oh, when I get mine, I'm gonna put some feet on it. And I'm thinking, wow, really? What about your career? What about building yourself up to the point of where you can afford it? I see these young kids today, they're buying these $30,000, $40,000 charges, and they barely make $20,000 a year to start. And they want to go out here and buy a $50,000, $60,000 car to start. And that doesn't top it all. They'll go out here and then they can't drive it because they can't afford the gas. Then they can't drive it because they can't afford the insurance. So it's just sitting there. You can make the payment, but you can't pay for it. This is where we are in our community, man. We want the nice, big 3,000 square foot home, but you make $30,000 a year. That doesn't equate to you having the ability to pay for a $350,000 home. It doesn't.
Thank you for your service, General. Just wanted to say that because my father is ex-vet, Army paratrooper. So thanks to him. Yeah.
So we have got to get back to the basics. And I'm sorry if we don't get back to the basics. Education, right? Because everybody's not meant to be a doctor or a lawyer. I understand it. The honorable things within our community, when you saw a brother who was a policeman back in my day, and I'm 53. When I saw, I'll be 53 next month. When I saw, teachers in the community, these were things that were honorable ways to make a living. When you saw black policemen, when you saw black teachers, the black firemen that came out, when you saw the people that worked in certain positions within the community, they were looked at as honorable people, honorable things to do within our. They don't want to do that no more. They want to go straight from 0 to 100. I want to be the boss. When I touch down in this company, I'm the boss. I want to be in charge. But you haven't put the work in. Everything is fast forward in our community. We got to go back to the basics. Without the basics, you cannot get to the top level.
So I guess I'll conclude by just saying that, you can't have a community without family. And we're a group of people who have a unique history and unique things we have left unchecked, and we've benefited and suffered from the fact that we're so talented and so adaptable that we've been able to get this far without having each other's help. And soon that's not going to be a possibility. The way things are going to change with automation, the way things are going to change with other groups of people who foresaw this in the long run and have made plans and planted seeds. Those seeds have grown into shrubs, and those shrubs are now trees that are about to give fruit. And that's going to be fruit we won't have access to until we start making our own. And the writing's been on the wall, and it's really up to us. But we got to decide if we're going to even have a community to even participate in this. Otherwise, we should not be surprised if we end up under somebody else's agency with no real autonomy of our own like that when things go down. So we go back to that point about death we were saying earlier. You know, we're at that point where we need to work with the realization that we don't really have a choice. If we're going to do it, this is the time we fight. General was in the military. You understand the concept of fighting on deadly ground. That's why you don't fully surround your enemy, right? Tactically.
Correct.
Tactically, that's facts.
It's because that's when you bring out the true essence of what you are, and you're willing to give up everything to take anything. We're really on deadly ground, and we've been convinced that, you know, we have a way out, which is, you know, not having to work as hard, being an individual. We've never really had that luxury ever since we stepped off the plantation. We've always been on deadly ground. And that's something I think we've forgotten as a group. And it's something we're about to find out very, very soon. If you look at what's going on with the budget plans that Trump has in line, and he probably will get reelected, there's going to be a lot of programs that are about to get cut that we've been making our profit margins off of, along with the rise in prices for rent. It's no longer going to be a luxury. We're going to be forced to do what the Spanish community is doing. We're going to be forced to form family units like we used to. It's not going to be any more of this, you know, I can do this single bedroom thing and do me with this assistance. None of that. We need to make a decision. Are we going to be a community, or is that it for us? Because that's really where we're on right now. I think we have the ability to. It's just we've got to make that decision to make it. And we've got to make that decision before we're too far down in the water.
Those are facts, brother. You just spoke the facts. You truly, those are facts, man, because Dr. Claude Anderson said by the year 2025, between 2020 and 2025, we're going to be a permanent underclass in this society. And I'll leave that there. You can research it yourself, but it's happening. If you haven't made your way and you have not solidified a future, a solid future for yourself, I got people, family members that are still in the South, right down in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. They're replanting. They're taking vacant lots in the communities and they're growing corn and all of this shit, you know, the way they used to. They're opening up gardens, starting community gardens there, so that they'll have a way to feed themselves, because this shit is gonna blow. It's imploding.
Hey, L.A.R., I'm going to say this to the general and what was mentioned earlier. I know we got, and this is not where I'm taking this as far as your channel, out of respect, what I'm about to say. From B1 to pro-blacks to the groups and acronyms, you know, the MGTOWs, SYSBMs, what I support and what I'm an ally with, all of it as a whole. The general said it in a nutshell too. He mentioned it just now. Family first. The other communities, the other nationalities, cultures, other groups, you name it, they've been on family first. And I said that before with the B1, not against that, or the pro-blacks, you know what I mean? Whoever is with that or part of it. And if not ourselves, yourself, any of us. But I feel that what's missing is family. Even if you're a bachelor or a solo person, you just roll solo, you can still, you mentioned General, they found a spot and they're growing corn, they're growing plant, you know, fruit, different things, but it's a family. Even if you're not biologically, you know, connected, but you done picked out a family where it's like, this is that important. This is at a all time, like, what is it? We're at, what do they call DEFCON whatever. You know, General, you know what it's
We're at DEFCON 5, baby.
Yeah, DEFCON 6, whatever. We're at that DEFCON at the highest level to where it's like, this is a priority. And we've let it go by the wayside that others have used family first. And some of us, we know it, we think it, but we're not actually walking it. You know, walk the talk the walk, or vice versa. We're not doing that. And others have definitely taken that to a whole different level when it comes to family, and look at where they are now. And I think that's in a nutshell where it's like we've been slacking and lacking, and others have sat back and said, you know what, we're going to take the opportunity, because family is pretty much important. No matter how we try to brush it under the rug, it is so important. It's not even funny. So figure it out, you know.
And I'm gonna let it in right there. Thank y'all for coming. I
Appreciate it,
everything y'all had.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Everybody, man. All right,
Appreciate all
everybody.
y'all.
Good night. Keep staying
Big
up.
ups, L.A.R.
Get it.
Big up to all y'all. Thank y'all.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. Peace.
Absolutely, family.
Peace.
And you
Yeah,
guys
be
have a
good,
good
L.A.R. I'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
You got it.
All right. Yep. Peace.